chosen in terms of showcasing it to the world. But it was a good game. I'm hoping today we get something up in the north, checking out that hilly area, because Taego is an incredibly diverse map in terms of landscape and potential. And these teams, they have to talk about this morning at breakfast, and you remember they were in that little dip, they got grenaded, and they were like, we didn't know where else to go. We don't know that area of the map. This map hasn't been out that long in terms of pro play. We just said, I guess we'll send it, and they found a hole and they crawled into it.
I understand why you find yourself in a situation like that. I mean, of course, for us watching, as you said on the desk, me and mine are like, okay, they're about to get naded. And it's very, very difficult to find yourself a good spot given that scenario here. But before we actually get to everything here, we can actually head to the first interview of the day to figure out exactly what's going to be going on for day number 2.
And they will have themselves a championship. The spray comes through. 17 Gaming takes the chicken dinner.
谁都会料到 PGS 一开始的时候，我们贯彻坚定的信念来证明我们的实力，然后我们站在最顶峰，超越所有人的期望，We literally dominated 17 Gaming on a bigger stage. It will not be any different this time in real.
เราต้องการพิสูจน์ให้ทุกคนเห็นว่าพวกเราสุดยอดกว่าที่คิดพวกเราทุกคนพร้อมแล้วพร้อมที่จะทำให้ทุกคนทึ่งกับการเล่นของพวกเรา
There should be no need for words. We'll show you through our gameplay.
Our play is exceptional, not like anyone else. Championship is ours anyway, so enjoy.
Скоро видео недоступно, да? Да, tu zły kadar bala. Kadar az zły kadar. Только Мы зайдешь в школах, до Кимбир стоит, где так.
Our main goal this tournament is to redeem ourselves for our poor performance in PGS. We've all had sacrifices, whether it be time or health, and we're ready to win.
거진 한 3주가량 머릿속에 아쉬운 PGS 성장통이라고 생각을 하고 있고 과거가 중요하지 않은 걸 알죠. 얽매일 수밖에 없는 과정이었습니다. 이번만큼은 절대 돌아오지 않겠습니다.
所有人都低估了我们的实力，但我们是以卫冕冠军的身份来到利雅得。
Oh yeah, otro añado,
I wasn't joking when I said it was getting hot here in the desert. Excited for day number 2. Excited for day number 2. To see what your eyes on Group C. Who have you got your eyes on for Group C? Because there's obviously some big names in there.
In that moment, just all saying it was tough for them to handle it. Obviously, aaihonor.com, you can go ahead and get yourself signed up. Just like the power of Magic. Just like I'm hoping that they will unleash that power. This Soul-led lineup, I should say, from Danawa is incredibly strong. They said at PGS he was taking over the IGL role. He was taking over the IGL role. He was a little uncomfortable. They played easy rotations. They made easy rotations. They're feeling better right now. And I think they're going to do well.
Of course, you guys at home can listen to the official G8 anthem on Spotify over at Spotify.com as well. It is my life. I'm listening to music all day. I'm listening to music all day. But beyond every day. But beyond Danawa, you're talking about Danawa. You already mentioned Sonic for them. You already mentioned Sonic in the pre-show as well. For me, I do. In terms of like what we normally see in our region, I'm excited to see how They've got a great roster. They've got a great roster. They've got best of who's able to always find the big guns and go fragging out. And they've got guys like Filfirst, who honestly is a bit of a prodigy of the game in our region. So if they can get over what is sometimes there's an opportunity for there's an opportunity for a team like Question Mark to come out swinging.
Speaking of your region and my region, I'm excited to see what Friendly Fire's going to do. They went ahead and they scouted some guys over in your region. They brought over Page, who obviously they brought over Page, who obviously second place means this guy's got PGC. Means this guy's got pedigree. Some of us forget he got second place at PGS. So this is a team that knows how to handle the big stage, but I don't think they found the right click of four. And I think this might be finally the roster that does it. Because I'll be honest, Sharpshot, they're quiet guys. Sharpshot, they're quiet guys. And I think that Ross hasn't been able to play with that moment that his leadership. This might be that moment that his leadership finally gets a chance to have a roster that works well for him.
What is this? A team with both of our region?
I don't know how to handle it. No, we can't argue and scream bias. We're all both here.
I don't like this. But yeah, we just saw, of course, Danoa on screen as well. But here is Sonics. A lot of people, especially on the shoulders of this team. They've been able to prove themselves. It was a little bit sometimes, maybe. But I mean, here, maybe coming in here, one of the teams that may not be that might be front of attention. That might be good for them.
I think it has been. I will say, after PGS, their PGC performances have been lackluster. Grand Finals 24 and 28. They expect better from themselves. They have been improving. PGS 1 seems to be working. The new coach seems to be working. I know their disciplined approach has been significant. And they feel like confident. Shrimsy alone looks like he's ready to go.
Game number 1 of Group Day 2. So let's do it here. For PGS 2 with the casters, Toby and Godspeed.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, James.
I will take
Great
it.
breakdown here to kick things off as we head into number 2. We're on to Miramar. Gonna take 2 games on the line before 3 goes upon us, and then finally 3 games over on a ranking. So far, a pretty simple playing path here to kick things off.
He's skewed for the most part. He's skewed. Sure, it's a little dorky. Yeah, but a lot of these teams, especially if they want to stretch towards Monte, they should be able to get there. But this is actually our first time ever casting together. It's true. That's true. Starting off with my favorite map, of course, Miramar. I'm very excited to see, especially obviously Sonics are going to be in this lobby as well as Danoa, a team that, I mean, it needs no introduction. That roster is absolutely disgusting. Soul being discussed as one of the best players in the world right now, and now heading into the lobby, heading into their first game of the tournament.
The Des touched upon it too, and I'm curious to see how or if that's going to impact things, but as I'm about to go into a long talk on Danoa, let's take our eyes down to San Martin, where Daytrade and DD Team seem to want to fight for that.
And you could always count on Daytrade to hot drop or just be in any form of early fight. This team is very aggressive. We've seen in the past. I will say, I think Daytrade is actually a team that's, oh, never mind, Mamu is going to find Buchus.
Yeah, I talked about, in the pre-show, Tai Lu being kind of a Shen show. DDT is a Mamu show. Mamu is a phenomenal player, former Petrichor Roach player, who is out for vengeance. He got dropped from the roster, said, I'll qualify with a new team. He found them, and here they are. So getting off to a strong start, finding the first kill against a team in Daytrade who are very good at fighting up close and in the early game. That is great start for DDT.
And as you said, Daytrade is a team that's very fighting, and they're honestly taking their region by storm as Norin's now trying to find a knock, but he's not going to find it on the goal just yet. He makes it through, but Daytrade took APAC by storm in their qualifiers, absolutely devastating them. And I will say, we've seen Daytrade in the past international events, very scrappy, but not really able to put together really good rotations or good macro. That's starting to change. Daytrade is really starting to turn the corner.
And one thing I'm curious to see, and this is a perfect example of what's getting serious, can Daytrade back off? Yes. This is one of the things that has had me work, because I like the team. Don't get me wrong, I love the roster. I don't consider them the best out of it, because as we look at the leaderboards, we do have our Cerberus set up there currently. But Daytrade, even when things are against them, they just tend to keep going. Even when they're wounded, where there were many options for them to back off, fight another day. Just see what you can get off backing off here. They didn't want to do it in the past, and well, I'm seeing them run around with shotguns and M249s right now. I don't think they're planning on backing off here either.
No, especially when it comes to a hot drop, right? Like as a former player, when you're going to commit to a hot drop at that point, it's either do or die. You're either going to win that fight, or you're going to cripple the other team as much as possible to deter them from coming back. Especially with a team like Daydream, as you said, they have no quit. Regardless of if they're 2 members, 3 members down, they will always go for that last push.
Also, one of the terrible things about hot dropping a center position is that if that's what you're used to work with, okay, we'll just take the neighboring city. Everything, especially on Miramar, everything in and around the middle of the map is super taken. So if you want to leave here and go somewhere else center, so that you can kind of align your rotations coming out of Circle 1 more easily, you're going to be fighting for a spot regardless of where you go. So since that even makes perfect sense that even if, I mean, as you want to back off being 1 down early, even if things go against you, since it's this early since it's their first day here in this group, they might as well just stick around and show some presence. Who knows? They could just turn this around. Who knows? They could just turn this one around.
Agree, and that's actually a very good point. I was just about to say, that's actually a very good point. I was just about to say, I actually like their chances of making. I do actually like their chances of making this deter them from coming back. And Daytrade again is a very scrappy team. But as you were talking about, if they wanted to go to the west, maybe if they wanted to go to the west, if they wanted to go north, they'd have to deal with LG. So north, they'd have to deal with LG. So this is their spot. They are going to fight for it. But again, I do agree. I would love to see them potentially just kind of pull back a little bit, especially if it's not going their way, because you only need to make top 16.
And as you're seeing, one step at the time, creeping their way up the staircase, and we all know how miserable these buildings with very narrow corridors are trying to be. The good thing is they're taking their time. I think Daytrade's worth it, so as long as they keep them upstairs, as long as they keep them on the roofs, other teams will charm in, and we're already seeing that from D+ now. Here they come. Norris first one to fall. Emopay finds a second, and just like that, only one player left, and that's Belma. Beautiful crossfire there from DDT. These buildings are very difficult to try to breach, and now Belmoth, the last member of Daytrade. And as far as I know, he'll probably die on this hill. Yeah, you know what? He should. I always talk about how much I'm against hot drops, but I say, you know, first stages of global tournaments, that is where hot drops belong. Or if we go down the line and you can deny teams qualifying for stages and all that, but that's far down the line. So for now, Belmoth, be the thorn, be the mosquito in the room after you turn off the lights that you just cannot find. Turn that four players alive DD team into a 2 players alive by just sitting in a corner. And who knows, maybe you can ruin their game now and then force them to reconsider risking yet another Miramar in the next game.
Yeah, because as a team that's hot dropping, I can tell you the worst thing to do is to get cleaned out 4 versus 0, right?
Cole just saw him run into the building. Yep. Caught him.
41. And they should do this. They should absolutely get rid of, because if they get rid of Daytrade convincingly, that may make them question if they even want to come back.
And for DD team,
Oh, itu gimana tuh dah?
Browser pun rara ya benda. Kecapet dah. Kecata dah. Ada tişka kecata dah.
1-2-3. Çarpı haklı. Качал, да. Чапа, уверенно, как чапа, хай-инди. Başka stream Zoom'un nasıl bir gün değil. Zoom'u hotiyle bit.
Mana kayak bildim. Hatadım. Bersigin. Lina mana kali ya.
100%. I've always hated hot drops, both when I was playing, even when I mean, watching it can be much more entertaining, as we just saw, but it's just, especially when you get to an international event like this, oh, goodbye.
I wouldn't know cassette, but they must have got to do it.
Well, they have a 2-seater RB at the very least, so, you know, they can do something with that, maybe. But yeah, D+K is a team that I was a little hard on yesterday. I just want to see some more proactivity from them. They do have, obviously, Americano Deva experience at this level, but they really need to start pushing the pace and really taking the fight might some of the teams, because even at that last game, we had a lot of missed opportunities there.
One of the issues in Korean PUBG, or not issues, because on a global scene it actually comes out perfectly fine, but one of the issues is a lot of the top fragging in Korea have opted to group up. We're seeing powerhouse teams in the likes of Danawa. That means that other teams that in the past would rely on having really smart gameplay in terms of knowledge of where to rotate, which for the most part Korea is one of the best regions to do. Now some teams super roster, they just don't have that one guy to at least go out and find the frags, and I think D+ is a perfect example of that. They lack that one guy that can entry for them. Let's take a fight, let's dare. They all go, oh, okay, we'll rotate, we'll go around. They need the oomph, they need the daringness to go out and take some of these fights. I think if you can combine their smart rotations, which they also had yesterday, with just daring to commit to a fight, they would be much better off.
I agree. They just need someone that's willing to put their foot down on that gas pedal, which is, again, the rotations have been good. The fact that they did make it to quite a few games on the kills, I would love to see, just as you said, someone step up and just take those fights. A team that doesn't really need a lot of encouragement to fight watching rotate is Petrichor Road, but I was also pleasantly surprised with the team here of Forest. Scappy actually had a really nice little day for himself yesterday.
And speaking of daring to take fights, I'm very, very curious as to which Gen G we're gonna see today. We know Gen G as the team that likes to wrap on the edge and kind of just dodge and weave, avoid confrontations until later down the line, and then creep their way in. And like when you see a good win for Gen G these days under the current roster they have, it's an 8-9 kill win. Like that's a high kill win for Gen G in the sense that they don't fight for the kills. They still play very placement heavy PUBG. I'm just worried with the aggressive playstyles that we're seeing from so many teams here now, they will get smothered. There's so many really good edge fighting teams now that I'm worried that unless Gen G just fully commits to emergency pickups and getting off the edge in phase 3.
Лайки прожимаем, ребят.
Legendary players on their team. I'm worried that it might not be enough. And speaking of legendary teams, here's that one.
Вот, добре, ранки хай долларов. О, манадина. Кым? Бұл кабре тынкайны мандахан кырын турдыки.
I feel like Iononyx was a big enabler for PO back when they were playing together, and so without that, it is very interesting. Obviously, Esther was on that team as well. To see how they're going to perform here again, a new roster around PO. Which team is going to show up? I agree 100%.
Yeah, Gen G definitely not a team we can kind of throw away as in just a show. They definitely have the pedigree, they have the skill needed in order to be able to it's just kind of similar story to they don't lack the ability to do it, they just lack the willingness to go out.
А так, блядь, самому только рахам брамудин олорот туатыр же.
But you're only going to get so many
friendly fire kill you need.
And you have to take some of them. Circle up towards Cruise.
Только я револу, да. LG. LG Divine. Эй, Divine не был да я. Бай, блин, меня все в гейме нету, табалан. Вот так надо, блин, элевейтер, бля, сюда. Битн так ставил элевейтер, биг кульбига.
Now we talked a bit about DD before we saw them hard drop. It's so fun.
А ты был бэтом? О, быкася это вот тебе спрос, блядь, вот нахуй, да. Бай, мы нахуй, ну, он не тебе. Вот так это никто так не туда, блядь. Ты пока батарея не гнал, ты что ли, да, он это. А мы думаем, не. Это тебе не ранки не делают, да? Кем нет? Буким бы были скрепен то турки ворота.
Итукка.
Окей. Гайд стоит деревянный. Как кидать флешки? Я буду на что это Sony 150 блядь, это будет ту кем которая. Прямо брак, мене эти expandables да, улырывал. Ол улырывал.
It's usually the top team trying to push down, but either way, whenever you try to go from one of these
Ve
compounds to the other, which is right next to one another,
Maren
you're
ronda
guaranteed that 3, 4, maybe
evittuaren mun
more
kararın
teams.
par.
You see now
Example
he's
labda
thank you
otasıydı.
so much, observers. This is
Pa.
perfectly
Yana
put up.
caps değil. Baskama baskana yine bu değil.
Here with Expendables, if they want to make their way down to Sonics, there's going to be a
They
Navi
will let it
barrage on their entry, and the same way the other way
Day
around.
trade'te bilen tadığımda oralar oldu.
To see Expendables and Sonics, just you know.
Lobi bitir daha.
Let's have a truce now.
Not only that, but you know
Kaydım yine benim güzel naklı kanka oralar oldu.
especially when smokes are involved, that whole
Layan mı? Kita barang kerasnya biar juga.
Dekat kan tuh.
Ondan kim main Hurriyad'da.
have a nice little split
Itu
happening
day
right now.
trade'te kan tahjal dari. Apa
I'm surprised to see them go towards them.
Onu orta kim hunjari kolu bar. Foresin olurdu.
Mainly known to be a slow creeping team.
Olar en canat ne hadilik pushtu gittiğinde bitirdim.
Да, там anda markira vardı da.
Bazım ne hok bala. Ata kaska kanı bu esport bir amno lesin olur diyeyim ya hoba hopa.
They saw them do it. Maybe they jump on the church. That's usually not a spot you have 4 teams committed, or 4 players committed too early on. Right now, there's actually no one up there. So new circle pops where we headed. Well, it's cruise to aaья. I would not be surprised to see DDT just bomb it straight over towards that cathedral.
I actually really like fighting in Cruise as well. There's so many little shacks and
Cahалыы
buildings
турик
that
direkt
you go around.
ederek
The issue obviously becomes as the
Kimde-
circle
kimden
gets
hediyeleri
closed,
bu?
it becomes a little more claustrophobic. But fighting in and around Cruise is actually
Kepancin
pretty pleasant, I would say, at
din
least in my
balığı.
experience.
Petrichor.
Spancınlar indi.
Trying to creep their way on, and they haven't
Nasıl
made
nereden bir
landfall.
Ubah
It's
hadi.
the current circle, so not in a hurry, but
Ubah
it's the
hadi indi.
first time they get here.
Sanırım.
They had to really get a proper look around and see what's going on in
Ve
front.
ubah hadi
They're
indi.
gonna play it slow as they always do here in the early mid phase of the game. In the meantime, Forest wrapping towards the center, trying to dodge around.
Ama bakarlar baştan
They haven't talked too much about straight
Ha,
ins.
kritik kiralık en yanatı bahane. Albat ama pislik gibi pıtadı.
Mhm.
In the arena, yeah, not able to get any knocks.
Bastı ki vardı. Bırak bu kadar elleri nak. Kim ki bütün ucuyla. Aha direkt. Krepe hazır. Barda abi istiyor tadı.
Pixel korkar.
İyi hayır. Hey pislik bu. Ama bana pis tuttu pıtı ki yola. Zaten hadi. Böyle masada görmem zaten hadi ha. Forma işte. Baktan bu.
Oh, bulan niya dito.
Böyle bu aslında caps olsun. Kımanda gibi bu hani. Ama bu nayvada yemek istenir de bağlı. Tekim öyle. Mel. Durak mı fotoğrafı hata?
Up towards the hill we go again as DDT. We said it. They're gonna fly in. They're gonna go up high, and here they are against Navi.
Yeah, beautiful rotation
Kalagan
from
nila
them
pıta.
in the air. Obviously,
Oh, böyle bildiğin gibi noktalar oldu. İki onun dışında hediyeler de otar nayvaları.
lost 2 in that approach. 4
Kere
kills.
kere mini gidiyor lan böyle.
Obviously, that was that
Bir tane
hot
rapeyim.
day trade. But Navi with a very nice defense here, and it is difficult, especially
Ben bedelerim oldu yine kadını bırak.
dip that you see Mel playing.
One of the issues
Then
with
it's
DDT
still
kadar da
on this one was that they flew
O da
around
kadar
the
da
city
niye
when
bana
no one was
bırak.
fighting. So the entire city heard a plane.
Umarım
and
evde
now we know it's
botan
already
falan
becoming a
kenar.
PTSD thing. If you hear a plane, you just instantly
Umarım
look at the sky
yapar
because
yine.
it's not a crate. It's always going to be a full team. And well, DDT, I think they lost. We didn't see it happening, but I think they lost to an approach. It's just Emo and Cold left alive up against a 4-man Navi, only really
Mas
dedicated to the
still
whole
what
thing.
baba de treta
I
hat
don't
outer.
think Navi is going to feel too threatened by this, but at the same time, they're still giving them a lot of respect and the sense that they're holding this kind of ambush angle for as long as need be.
Yeah, Navi doing an amazing job just getting to that position.
Yeah.
Very early. Obviously, that high ground is very advantageous, especially when you're looking over Cruise, especially when you're right above Church there just to the east. So I imagine if they are able to clean up DDT,
Da bunu pusta spattara.
seeing as how they've been playing.
Pusta mihna da indi. Dem bot ya. Dana. Krasken ni mu getir baladi. Sapangan kuduk.
Last team to join the
Yeah,
circle.
that's why I thought
It's coming in from
Trida.
that southwest over towards where Sonics and Expendables are currently set up. We'll wait to see the next circle. Towards Cruise we go again, and this one should send us straight into the city, considering unplayable terrain. This is going to be a fun one. We started with a somewhat city.
Oh, блядь, ты столько карвят, тохтанер что ли?
Straight towards Cruise today.
Да, гимнар не пошутал тараттами.
Not city entry.
Барахатары вы здесь биттер, я не спидет скучно только гирим биттер.
I don't even remember the last time I saw.
Антиох тредио.
It's been a while.
Дена, страшный болан. Вернулся день было где-то, да? Асхигер.
Now, because D plus Kia is kind of suppressing Navi or not allowing for Navi to flank out and take full control, there's room to maneuver on that northeast side. But whenever that fight comes to a close, or if DDT opts to go around the wall,
Абыз, де bu da haltı crashing болан. Botter.
that's going to change very rapidly.
Ага.
Абаз, бля.
О, бля, борда.
Yok yirka side bu toki. Ronny kelime bada bля. Zamanında. Пересадку. Ой, да пиксели кёля без поинки каледи хуёво бля. Вы ми бика вся это бля. А вы смотрим это. Ну хорош. Бля, албы келак. Канда не отони то не рабапта. Jadi bikin dari atlet dah. Anak fakta. Nah, bla, begini lah. Dalam jenis tu dalam minus nol, tu bim begini minus nol. Bela dah bahas teman orang. Tu betul kaya kalau tu.
Oh, sih. Нихуя доджиган.
In a lot of trouble. Yeah, very much in trouble. I like their approach. I mean, they come up, they find the knock from the car onto DDT, and as you see there, a little bit of a flip of the car, and that is the entire team wiped. And now, because everyone else is left,
Oh, bля, ты чувствуешь, что ушли наверное, бля.
Do you like this little back they go here by Duck Shoes? Actually, Duck Shoes and specifically Taboo have just.
Тут там бот бля, лора боган раз калор.
We did talk about how difficult.
Она хоть на ханна там надо, ведь туда улин. На хата где смог просто, типа, потому что там надо.
You could see the smoke line was set up there. They tried to abuse the fact that once DDT got enough, they knew where they were. They thought Navi is gonna like prioritize.
Вот бедненький на хэмер, хотя там тахар был бата да. Вот бля, а вы, ты таким деле турнесло бы тоже, блядь, никак поллота. Блин, на XXX тахар, она, конечно, Expandables закроет их, не, бля, байя, наверное. А так, по-любому. Будет, блядь, уже, бля, о, кри, бля, гольвудники, иди с угла не вроде. Хуй его знает, не. Бля, блин, она такая с теми, о, то, что меня дилировал, ты видишь, бля. Ой, бля, гархан был ролл. Вроде бы, блядь, где кто-то так, уже, блядь, блядь, это, пусть это такие битринганы. Ну, хан кая дип не, люминес гейминг кая дип не. А вас так вот будто бы у нас. А себе давно пивит была, то это ну когда где. А то все идет бля за зоны, но там на блядь дурак. А без. С кем я читаю это? Умай да. Итиги. А он нахтан не йо. О, бу эксмайм всеми кашки. Ваш касят лет десять мест. Килата дохара. О, кепси бля.
Very calculated fallback. One building at a time, one angle at a time. Always hold the shoulder of your teammate to make sure no one's running back straight. Very smart approach because Expendables only had so many angles they could do that from, where they weren't gonna get shot from Navi or Twisted Minds.
Блин, ваш короче да, тут тетки я мим багла. Лайки прожимаем, ребята,
Да, ставка лута, то блин.
Я ну попадин говорит.
О, бля,
Эй, нахуй, бля. Бот троню градин. Бейс. Так, здесь была. Конечно, мат килл хайбут такие хайрики. А то здесь не бенда ролл. Не видят. Любой проигрыш им беду пери не видят. Бля, убедись меня, это наверное, убедись фарминг надо было, блин, мы так были бявен. И ты это вот, там ходили нахуй. О, буби ваши красавчики где. Конюдя. На. Браха, а бай сюда дело ропен. Ну, ну-ка,
Давай, бля. Уба!
Уба!
А
ну, пулым, давай лучше будет. Что я тут был, да. Мы вот это не канал, блядь, Кирин хлеба подтавля. Это так экзампл на кем-то там объектив дистера. Мел, бля, мел man еще бадага. О, бля, пока вся это вот возьми. Абаз, нихуя там перекрыл, бля. Нокнул. Я без палама на конде. О, мен демина стим еще $2, блядь, это время идет 75 наш. Анки меня тикни. Да на вой. Битки лахты, мен время битки лахты. Абы, на, рассыпались. Один на ногах. Тайлу, блядь, пиздец, хуёво, да, блядь. На, велоринг селерин, тахнул там. Чуть вкуснее надо было играть, чтобы эти справа хотели твистать второго вместо Тайлунг, чтобы они гандаган. Блин, на КФС, перфективская вся КФС была. Флешка, хаешка. Поеди, бля. Все, люди, бля. На, хорош. Ну, на рида был. Долго я снимал. А вы сделал ноты. А вы до наводастого тогда, конечно, да? На, нахуй, бля. Касать лебда. А вы... Это там на канале кого-то, что ли, гугля. Ага. Помата мы бядер тури диступи на ладе. Это долго говорила багата.
We're effectively seeing some of the best teams in this very tournament just rattle in house.
Пуста.
Хорош,
Да.
бля.
Because they're gonna need a lot of space to fill with all these corpses we have here on the ground. I feel like half the server
Форест не нахтер, бля.
two circles on this hill. And
Краш тим владеет отр.
our attention goes to the city.
That was absolutely disgusting, and we did lose some teams in the city, but the
Бля, так, меня...
fighting was happening on that
Ну, бля, ты где надо, ты где только все тури где надо.
LG, a team that potentially would have loved to get those kills, they didn't have the angles.
Знаешь, что латер?
No way for them to get up there. And now we look at Genji though, 3 kills.
Это ла, люминесцентно берешь это. Да, не дали же. О, кое-что марки лахта надо. О, брах, плейспоинт, рахайла лади. Тол давал лахла. А вы одозиби здесь видите, блядь. Вот, трёх не трёх. Если там фил ферста, они хай вырвали то, им блядь, ты здоровая. Пока фил ферста орд хелеру. Эти данавалар бля минут тенки хакело, это будет 90 лару.
And I can tell you as a player, especially in a group stage, it is really good. You know what? Just getting some early fights. Not necessarily hot shot, because again, I hate
Бля,
hot
здесь.
shots. But it is good.
Пиксели здесь это такое.
And I'll tell you what, when you do wipe a team, when you do find
Прям
yourself taking the fight to multiple teams,
О, мене бігю ряді ватані.
able to get on that hill, that confidence, which again is incredibly dangerous,
Просто макана на гай.
is going to pay off dividends later in
Станок он
the
лемат. Инди. А вот мне надо касание надо будет. А ты беги хабата, это при прикрытии. Они фигур зануал это. Иди с угла будет фигур с этим деньги. На нах, прыгайте, давай, хорош. Снейкерс, блядь, туда их, блядь. Хорош, бля, удобно, бля. Блядь, сука, нахуй берила, разыгрывай на тренинге, да? Сюди, блядь. Бак, если это вот, блядь, а ты бикин, ну, кто он нахуй. Абы, скибита бытаев. Чёрстик бас. Опять ты герой лэда на валага. Дагестане склеен, ты не знаю. Ну, там того ааья мдди. Блядь, здесь для бытаев. Пух нихуя то волда. Бля, оббики все иди, бля. Ну, так дерби, тут дурак. О, абы. Ага. Бля, размен, молик. Вот, все, хай. Слева. Хорош. Давай, Сникерс, добивай эту, бля. Добивай. Ты. Бля, был лукинг был ааья, вот. А должен, блядь, зона, да, красавчик, хорош. لا كاين لا بت باكي بالقهوه والله اسني كسر الجول صح بكده بلا سنيكرز ناخذ Karta kini rawan gitu. Atau kimi kata beli toput forest. Crash тем было. Да. Crash тем было дикий. Бля, так навал пила. Хуё, бля. Ну, с ним ходы киру он халал рейти, бля. Пробовал то, что... сразу добитал просто был. Он не блядь. Игорник. Сразу добитал. Халары мне не харат добитал. Мне добитал. Бала был, если зельда куда. Бески. Бимми. Бимми. Бески, ладно. Бимми, по-моему.
Договор ты всех надо.
Что ты, блядь, Донавана ободла, что ли? Бля, гоем бить до кило, блядь. Хуё, ну, блядь, бессрочно раз погнал, да на работу диди.
Так, ладно.
Блядь, ты, бля, маленький фигур, я тут наш. О, ладно, раду работу, аж фигуры, блядь. Веха город, блядь.
Бля, ну кто надо?
АБС, абарда, бля, пиона. Давай, пио. Так он бессрочно меня там сказать. Да, флаг. О, куда? АБС, аж ноктаны, бля. Бля, кепси, бля, на них салари, аж ноктаны, бля. Молик туда.
Молик бардом атаку.
Это очень не молик туда.
Какие, да.
Бля, тут окей, это хуёво, бля. Бля, АБС пио, бля, 50. Хатает ли, бля. АБС, просто инде. Диджи, кинем мой торгас, что такое. А вас бы себе не наглый был, тогда будет джинки. Крата, ну, не делал, да, блин. Хайвар кто-то. А вы сюда стало пьет, хамбери бава пиксель, так, бля. Ты выйди, реально.
По-любому.
Пара, так говорит.
Все,
Блядь, смог там хуйня, добро хватать, так, хуёво, да. Себе.
На, голта вся арена.
Дера. Это именно сломки.
Локива.
Что нахуй, Локи? А бля, ну кто-то нахуй, бля. Крышал ему внутрь, бля. Давай, Локи. А все, Люри, бля. Пиздец, бот, ты букими, бля.
Да, ты, бля.
Это парнорный, да?
Да ну на.
А бля, попада?
Да на вот так.
Это было... Не менял лабытами.
Ага. Все нахуй пью. Бля, это блин, индюры, джаки, не видно.
Ой, давай, ну, это беха. Миг до нами килла, да.
home. Erkä.
They sure as hell did. And you were speaking about it even at the beginning of that game when we first brought up.
Mutta ei ne killahtaa.
They have the ability.
Oi, killahtaa, ei ne vedä.
Hoppa killna no. Kyllä bana bityy.
Toha 5 killahtar ei ne 6 killahtar. On ei ne vasta golle. Mie nyt on niihin isäävän kada.
Yes.
No paha. Ensin 6 killahtar on top 4 olla bahla. Top 5 polloida. Top 4 olla. Otetaan noin hohtaa.
But se gruppa.
That's right here, Genji looking fantastic to start things off here for day 2 of the group stage. My name's Klaus, joined by Toffees to break this one down. What a start. Cruz Devalle being forefront and center here, Toffees.
You know, it just...
Genji doit saada nähdä tätä.
Why are there so many teams just sitting in Cruz Devalle? Apparently they knew
Right,
something
we have
they
just
did, and Genji
Kashmari
won
Lara.
them. They had a unique start. You pointed out to me in the green room, they kind of had a funny split where they had 2 up on the hill, 2 stayed in town to loot.
Näin, vielä meni sinne maniatlar.
And then ultimately this trap they set for
Lähinnä sivulla pitää
olla.
olla.
Of the church approach. You see here, it was just
Ei niin paljon on mä tästä toi totteri. Kuemner.
Kujem top 2 na.
Mikin to dobi palata.
Oh, en top 3.
To čo ty kyllä mä bili killa heti top 2 olla. Bla capste.
Maybe there were still some question marks around Genji, but look, maybe PO just does sometimes PO things. I think he probably did.
Bla bien kaya hawa olla. Totter.
It's one of those things you talk about. It doesn't matter if PO is...
Genji var. Ha. Bla PO ro segin ni olla. Didi kullu bolero yere.
They did that. They got kind of a slow start at PGS 1. They come out and they end up...
PO ro segin ya.
They're starting stronger here. That was a really impressive game.
Anton dai min på
What I
så
loved
chicken
about it was
bile.
the patience. They waited for the right moments. They
Bravo.
engaged friendly fire when they had to, and then they made the move up the hill. Because that church, even though it seemed slow to start, the graveyard to the church, that transition fight was brutal. I mean, even Donawa crossed half the map so they could be involved with the church chaos.
No, absolutely. So great stuff here by Genji. I think also when you look at how they approached other teams in a city finish scenario, they actually did a very good job of constricting other teams. I'm thinking about Friendly Fire here, who actually had quite a decent position throughout this here, Toffees, but by the end, they were just absolutely pushed to the wall.
I mean, that was it. They moved in a good spot. I don't blame them for the lack of fighting early on. They went to the north. In fact, you saw how long it took Friendly Fire to find that spot. They were just driving around. They put the crews in Devalle. As they drove in circles looking for the right spot, they found it. And they had the play. I think they were setting up for that push up the hill. And Genji just read them like a book. And the second they moved into that compound, Genji was ready, annihilated them. And I gotta be honest, that kind of awareness is just what we've known PO for so long. And the execution by this team was beautiful.
I think there's a world where they could gain significant confidence off the back of this. You know, after having some rougher times internationally, so maybe they're able to roll with it. But other teams that need to roll with it, I think LG, we look at them eventually being able to wrestle, not even wrestle actually, they just waltzed into that church compound area. Yeah.
Free church? I mean, come on! We saw it. I think it was DDT we thought would maybe go there, and they chose to go to the high ground instead. So you know Luminosity was expecting a fight when they got to the church, and the fact they got to hold it and wait, that was awesome for them.
Skravar hiljutti. Kai täitä.
7 kills to boot here, whilst taming DG and not able to put up as much, but it really doesn't matter. Again, it's still a team effort. We were, you know, you brought light to the fact that they had that kind of split. I was questioning it initially, but it definitely paid dividends.
I mean, I think what we're seeing is the roster shuffling working, right? They brought EJ in to replace Foxy. He brought in something that they needed in terms of that support. Taman, who's been playing with him for a very long time, took that sort of tour of duty last year with Bagopod, now back together, and they seem to be working well, I mean, at least in this first game.
It's going to make a lot of people excited to see PO being the man of the match here.
Kummoka tahtiin arbada chat party.
An all-star player. I mean, of course, there was a little bit of time where he'd gone for a little while. Came back, was having fun with Bagopa, but 20 points will be going the way here of Genji, getting that on the board. And from there on...
Eli minun... Ei täysin tänne revikkeessä, tänne pitää revit.
Danawa, I was surprised at their approach, because initially they were in Cruz, but wrapped south to try and take those fights on the ridge.
If LG and Friendly Fire woke up and choose progressive passive play,
Bilir bulla kaçıyor
Danawa woke up and chose violence. Because they went went out of their way to go
Uksa
ahead and
kuma.
fourth party that fight at the graveyard, and it worked out. They just played cleanup. They walked away with 6 kills, and sure, they didn't get the win, but they did the same thing like that LG was trying to do, which is let's just guarantee that we get those placement points and put some kills on the board.
And honestly, 3 off the back of that as well. But as we do see here, that is interesting to see the fact that Cahaalゥgot themselves also 10 points on the board, so it's moved up in terms of this 2 groups to first place. Technically, that will put them 2 points ahead of Cerberus, of course, here for all of that. But I do feel like, and I'm going to pose this question to you here, Cahaalゥ, now that they probably don't have much pressure on their back, I feel like they're going to do pretty well today, considering their freedom for them.
Jara, Jara, Blinker bekata. Kan karta olar olay. Gentile hene. Indikta. Tihincha jikoin. Indikta. Pionix usambo so khadawai. Khalta tal khamandancha bir khamandada. Wana
3v1 and he wiped Luminosity. The guys
Papitsot.
to this day they still have trouble peaking Iononics in a fair trade because that sticks in your head. I think
Давай, ехала по 500. Tal khamanda. Kimbarı. Indikta. Abı kayangati. Miha da natan rukhsat bari din.
Everybody's talking about Danoa. Everybody's talking about
Bismarck. Tal khamanda.
Genji quietly slides on in and says,
Açkonan açkonan.
I will say this though. First game,
Du kayda khanawdıydı. Top to. Kim bahar sarbari. Tuğunan arduk bolay. Açkonan da tuğunan da.
They had a great game. I feel like they stood out.
Miramara bit.
they are patient. They generally will get
Çakadat hamiliyeti inkaralik na talahiqa.
and from there they're able to finish off games usually. Now of course it
Tak
didn't go
açkonan
that way
bolları
this time
şey
around.
bolurdu oğlum.
I think they had a slightly disadvantageous position. That's a word.
Right. Disadvantageous. I mean, I take it. It is now.
But there is definitely
Top хуйня, bro. Açkonan go.
And I think they answered some
Jinjiya. Давайте.
about coming in
And
and making
Jinji.
those plays. You said best lock finds the big guns and they needed a compensate.
Aha, kim ürtük durar. Anlık tuğunan diye.
By the same token,
Сука.
a little more action. We need twisted.
Ta хуй с ним, бары ханнык.
Have themselves a good game right now. Sonics, I did
Блядь.
not see what I wanted to see out of that.
Данава нахуй, Данава.
I was worried about that
Бабы.
coming into this. I think they need to build momentum. That first game was a bit of a
Açkonan taylu da.
definitely
Ho, kim ürtük durar.
I mean, a few of
Ata açkonan opsiyonu kim tipa
teams and seeing how
bu
they're gonna
hasar
fare
katkaga
for fantasy, but yeah,
kaybıt
there's still
tipa
some expectations
açkonan
on them,
kaybıt
even
kayar.
though it's probably been kind of
Wow,
tempered somewhat compared to previous internationals, as they have themselves a bit of a rough time to
Jinji.
start things off.
Blah.
I do have a question whilst we're looking at all of these teams. I want to
Suka Danawa tuh pat kan yudya. Coba dulu tahan Danawa.
Were you a fan of their emergency drop timing or not so
Aha,
much a
tayo
fan?
dati.
What were your thoughts?
Kim kahasaylarını.
You pointed out that it was they did it consciously. They chose to have the emergency pickup come in
Mindanao.
as the sort of circle closed.
Barka.
I
Yakala.
think it was too late. I think if you're gonna make that drop, maybe
Hindi ko na hatar agresif na baylar di
North
bala.
try to come in behind Gen G. But I am a fan
Huli.
of that they took a risk.
Ba't doon siya?
They said we're not just gonna sit here on the edge. We're not just gonna die to the blue. We're not gonna be bleed out one by one. We're gonna take the E pickup and we're gonna put ourselves in a spot that could win or we lose extravagantly. But we're gonna take the risk. And we saw
Danata
Tyler do
hero
that
kaçır.
yesterday.
Yeni
It
gitti.
worked for them and set them on a path to greatness.
Şey güne bile.
Didn't work for DT. Maybe next time it will.
I agree with you. All right, let's get to it. Game number 2. We're going to Miramar once again. Toby and Godspeed. Bring us.
Kaynar.
Thank you so
Tudiyan na
much,
rata.
James. Thank you so much, Toughies.
Yoruluyorum daha.
We are here once again
Kaynar kurtardı da.
for this
Al.
day.
Alna.
Miramar. Last
Yere.
line was very
Abi
good.
biz kadar değil la.
Time around, we head a bit
Taksar
further
balıkta.
west, Godspeed. So everyone
Выгала.
is being placed today.
Когда не хакерс. Тренер не постигает.
Barda barda. Aku min oturum çubuğa di heller abi.
Yes, are they
Danawa.
committing? Are they
Tan
going
jinsi
through?
kamat ya.
I'm not seeing them
El
on the
pozos.
PGS now. There they go.
El pozo da.
So there might just be a case where, you know,
Abas!
we'll risk 2 games. We'll risk
Monta
a
di heller
double
deni ya.
Miramar. We still have another 10 to
Şey.
play in the group, so why not try and show DD Team that the fact that they just beat us 4-0, that's a one-time thing.
This is luck. It was just a luck draw.
Just luck. They didn't take any casualties. They got lucky. They got lucky.
Cleanest swipes I've seen. But yeah, you know what? You said it last game though. If there's ever a time to hot draw,
Абай,
it would be in
сколько
the
ты
first
да?
couple games of group stages. So you know what? Day trade they did catch that 4-0L, but maybe they can turn this one around as they are going to contest yet again on DD Team.
Splits are the same this time around too, as DD Team ups to cross the road, try and kind of pin them in, hurt them inside the middle building here. And
there's a gun I haven't seen used in a long time.
Yeah, it seems to me like this time around. This time around, Daytrade does claim the building for themselves. They took a few casualties in the previous one and ended up being the ones pushing it. But now, here we are. Bilmuth sharing a building with Spaceman as he has found himself a tummy.
Заебал нахуй.
Yesterday's game's not something you see too often. Here we might be blessed with a
Gitar болдum бахла.
Uzi one as the first circle takes us far over to the west.
Yeah, Uzi is actually just such a nasty gun to use early. It just shreds. That 9mm is very dangerous coming out of that weapon, even just naked without any attachments at all. But Spaceman is actually going to be able to cross back over towards his team. Now, this is what interests me about this the most. Are they going to back off? Which team is going to press the issue, or do they just leave this?
Let's put it this way. They have a very, very good fire escape in the sense that they are sat furthest west. Their vehicle spawns on the west side of the city, and the circle is in that direction. So DD Team, we know you are the team that likes to be the nuisance of others. We know you're the team that likes to loot edge, and now, for reasons, you are in the center. But what are you going to do? And Mamo, what are you going to do with the Panzerfaust?
Oh, the Panzer.
Panzerfaust in building
так
just
хвата, бро.
screams, like suicides to me.
Ох,
Oh,
кой
wait,
пиден.
right, I keep forgetting the damage behind me if I use it up against the wall.
Yeah, Panzers have been, at least even just playing in pubs has been such a pain to deal with, especially if you're trying to breach a building. But yeah, it does look like DD2 is actually just holding this nice wide swath of area, right? They have Cold going all the way to the north, and they have Spaceman actually setting up in the south.
Yeah, and the LG starting to flex in this direction as well. Flood peeking on over. Didn't get as much playtime as he wanted yesterday. Now this is him saying, you know what, I want to feel warm as well. I want to go out here and get a few shots in down towards Martin. Little to no risk involved with it myself, so might as well to see what I can find. I don't know, maybe he found himself a good scope and the DMR, so he'll be able to join the fight in the city down below.
I will say, at least, you know, it wasn't a terrible game for LG. They didn't manage to make it in the top 4. They did get some kills as well. That was a very difficult push to hold from two separate teams, I'm sure. So I don't blame them at all. Not a bad start for LG. I would love to see that consistency continue, especially if they can steal some of these kills from DD Team or Daytrade.
Correct. If you can make your way to that stage of the game when you're as good at closing out as it is, you're gonna get wins. Like it's sure one of them every now and again will be that, oh, we got 4th place and 1 kill's only a 5-point game, but more often than not, when you're a team like that, they will convert.
Hasna oron bro. Hasna mi turikka
We may have an interview here with this gentleman right here.
Kim bari toksarissa?
Love to hear what he has to say. We'll keep talking until it pops up on our stream again. A player who has joined the Shen train and now is a hell of a player. So let's see exactly
Бля, той лучшая утро.
Handsome has to say.
Стрелок тербит бары.
每个人都愿意配合的更默契了一点。其实最大的变化还是我们打得更有侵略性了一点吧，以前打得太。
That was in a language I do not speak. So please Godspeed.
Aina toksar khachtaho.
It was very enlightening. He was basically saying, look, we are the best. We are going to continue to have the success. And everyone else sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Mitä tätä mitä näitä mikki? Aina stavkalla juttu bro. Sota.
Telling me that's what he was saying, I believe you. And you know what? With how he's been fighting so far, no one's really been posting a big threat to him. So maybe that's not out of the question. We'll of course hope that we can get the rolling as we make our way further into game number 2 of day number 2.
As I said, I may have taken some liberties with that interview, but no, honestly, Zhao Yang has just been amazing. Again, we talked so much about Shen and how good he's been on that team, but really, Zhao Yang has just been amazing. He's been consistent as well.
And for a roster, I mean, to continue kind of down the same storyline that we talked about with D Plus and other teams, when you then do have one, but only have one, you're also putting so much pressure on that one guy to perform, because if he doesn't go out and does everything right, the team crumbles. Like, that is immense pressure to put on one person, whether that's the IGL or just your main fragger entry, whatever it may be. So the fact that other players are now starting to, in this case, Xiaoyang, but other players are going out,
Intrihin ihan usvalların gonna staff custom.
load off your shoulders every now and
Mahatcha min
again,
hakka.
and kind of put the carry hat
Niinpä.
on myself. I love to see that, and I think if that's becoming a trend on Cahaalゥ, where we're seeing not only Xiaoyang, but other teams, other members of the team start to kind of back up Shen in some of the fights they're taking, which we have already seen in this tournament.
Бо так, любимой системе заебись ганиларды.
Threats out of China.
Yeah, Longs and 755 as well have been putting in work in this event for them as well. And I will say is, from experience, that the mental relief you get when your teammates are actually starting to put in work, you're like, okay, I don't actually need to do everything. I can trust my teammates to make this play or to hold our flank or to support. So that's going to be huge for Shen and Xiaoyang as well.
Sure is. Now, as everyone is rabbing on over towards the western side of the map, trying to find locations to call there and see Page. Just checking.
Glad they drove through that.
Yeah, making sure. Gotta get all the checkpoints down, you know. There are rewards to be claimed off of getting all of them in one game.
Of course.
Which I don't
Friendly
think
fire
anyone's ever done. But let's see now as the pushes continue once again. Last game it was Daytray who put on the aggressive. This time around it is as well Flash. Opting to aggress with the Orc over the Panzer. Oh, as I say that. He swaps on over. Oh no. And there's a guy upstairs. And they have no clue. Oh no. The thing is, he's gonna flick whenever he gets surprised and just spam that straight into a wall and kill himself. Are you ready?
See as he goes
Oh, fucking. Да ну нахуй.
He will find
Блядь, дровахай.
Hashtag denied an entry as they come around with shotgun versions. Pochus has something to say about the shotguns in the hands of Cold. As he takes one down in return, they have to be fast with the rest, so Nuance has to come over and assist. But is he going to go close or is he going to stay at a distance, off-angle position, try and catch them on approach? I actually don't mind the fact that he's not grouping up with the teammates, even though the rest will take longer. Stay at an off-angle, catch them off guard when they get there.
Puchu should be the one, one of the members should be able to res that as they have their angle. As you said, Norris is going to find a beautiful call, Toby, and that is going to be huge for Daytrade as they will be able to recover the knock.
And it's such an obvious thought, right? DD team goes, we knock two, they're two alive, they're going to both be resing. But Norris sticks around for a little while longer, but here comes Spaceman, the sneaky man around the back up by the road. Norris still not at the point from where he can hear the footsteps. And if he goes as slow as he does here, I don't think he ever will until the backstab comes through. Mamu does get flushed. One of the star players of the DD team, but Norwich now looking the other way around. Don't think he saw anything or heard anything, just being very cautious, knowing that this is a big city and the wraparound potential is always there.
Here comes the interesting psychology behind this as well. If you're a team like Daytrade who did get wiped for, okay, Olympus is gonna find Roth here.
Is it? Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but
back to your point.
Yeah, back to my point. Fortunate is also Roth, my friend.
We get interrupted by these guys every now and again, but we'll get back. There you go.
But yeah, the psychology behind this, right? Daytrade got wiped clean 4-0 in the first drop. And now look at it, they have 4 live, and they now have the advantage as well on DD teams, so now the ball is actually in DD team's court.
And they will have to play each other again tomorrow.
Yes, they will.
More Miramar games are about for these guys. Could be fun if you have a 4-0 versus a 4-0 to see what's going to happen coming into tomorrow. But if I know DD team right, at least, they're going to commit to it all the way through. In the meantime now, here comes Flash with his Panzerfaust. It just looks off, and there you go, nice catch. I think that's Norrens hearing the steps on the outside, calling that to the team. He said, I heard something, I don't have an angle, can you check it? Belmuth swings, spots him instantly, and now Emo hearing the footsteps of them going back the other way as well. Oh, the timing is just off. Here's the footstep of them crossing on over as well. But no angles for him to see, and just like that. Emo pick? Well, he's a lonely pick.
Lonely pig indeed, and the problem with these angles as well is even if he does get the knock, he won't be able to get a
Типа, тайна турик hayvat думаете?
as he hears them coming in to do the
Турик
most
делает
damage he
дурность.
can, Toby.
I don't like.
Ставка ладно где?
I was just gonna say I don't like them flexing out. I
Не.
don't like them spreading out. Just saying,
Только
I
ялын.
live by now. Look at how thinly spread they are. Good thing that he fell behind the wall, Belmont. When you're 4v1.
Эй, сдавлю тебя.
Emo Pig might be a solo player, but he's packing a punch. Good thing Flash gets the peek around the corner there in the end, and they will come out victorious. So Daytrade down 16th in the previous one. This time around, they say no.
So it's been a straight clean wipe for both teams.
One apiece as well.
Yep. DD team and Daytrade have traded, so I do imagine we will see them again.
Navi Urkus puudus bitte.
Bihe krasnavtan tahalar dugari. Asla butalı. Batallar diyor. Marta tayaklı horgay.
As our eyes are on Navi and Twisted Minds, two of the best teams out of EMEA, trying
İyi
to
varak
make their way
pabla.
towards the circle. But right now, Twisted Minds are trying to deny Navi entry, and I like it because they're not grouped up yet. They cannot allow for Navi to think for a second that they have the upper hand here, which they kind of would have. But speaking of upper, Petulans back where he belongs. He gets like +3 aim when he moves up at the mountain.
Some sort of
Проблема я, блядь, кипси делаю тут, блядь.
Красный.
Are they committing to this? They have one up close.
Блядь, Локи, брат. Брат. Пьёр.
Оу.
Хорош.
Оба битка вся это, бля, ходи.
Бля, заебал.
Аба, звуки тахан да ладно, он не номер дые. Донава хайла хала.
Бля.
Аба, сбереги, тюра хабта. О, бля, хис, бля. Да, бля, урон орахтые. Здесь тайм. Линда. Бар локен тура. Михаил файка тура geldi bidden farette. Boşa gelene kadar ki.
Ты, бля, да.
Ama bunun turusu olur hidre var burada.
А, я все.
Bilin taklatın hayır.
А! Что, блядь? Да ну нахуй! Бля! Ох, бери lan hayda бля. Токети тох. Тох термал. Джинджига, бля. Заебал. Да ну нахуй. Да на ТФ хашин тефтерите. Бля, где сайдеры нахуй? Да он лабы ты гимнай, бля.
Да. Это американлар-то.
Он не нужен нам, бля.
О, бегали бы тут water. Танка не бля.
This is where Pensacola
Ah,
is coming
GK.
and I'm like, just the whole. I mean, 4 in a car was never a good idea, but now that they have a weapon that can one-shot 4 in a car, that's just even worse.
Нахуй.
Look at the damage alone from the Pensacola kills the people inside the car.
Ну, киллер, бля.
The vehicles
Заебал ты на его.
А вы тут оставили то water достойно. Индина.
That's it. That's the thing. So hopefully they'll be swapping vehicles.
Сатанган water было да.
Centers up. I don't say kind of as
Краш
expected
тем
because this one
молодые.
could really have gone anywhere, but
Ебал нахуй.
centering up, and so will everyone else after the next server.
Пиксели кстати лут плурировал, да. Бля, лут дохуя вот.
We'll see if they can somehow bounce back. So right now the position.
Бля, весь мягко проебал. Баста на поддержку лайнера. Не, да.
Эй, поддержка. Кстати, и тохта. Хатан ксоды то.
Эй! Тохтите. Не, да. Бля, джигайде. Нах. Стрима трарди. А, ты пока как бы побро. Тохте. Не, да.
Есть Индина.
Турором демите бро. Эвитер. Катка видеогорс хапна дөрөм хо. Тиенеден бери.
Это как ставка ланда янда. Пятый гейм это хат. Не.
Still trying to take shots. The Expendables will actually make it to where they were trying to play, but that position Tidy holds is actually so good for anyone trying to rotate on that road, which is why they're taking it.
Абы, что было? Да ну нахуй. Покатались бы-то нахуй. Башта молодец, да? Они молодые, вот так бы не да?
Блядь, iki dostlar arasında en kötüler bля. Navi loser 2 indiler burada.
up north around, but he's gonna
Yeah,
straight
mean.
into forest. But then again, I mean, yesterday we saw Uber go from, I think it was actually 12 teams alive and finish 4th. Only thing is this time around he does have a whole city to hide in, so we'll see. Adusi must at least have heard him, but how actively will Question Mark go out and try and find him? That's going to be the question.
The other issue is him just getting in. He's scouting right now, looking
Adam
for
özür
a
dün
position to
körünü,
play,
dün
and there
körünü
really
yedi oğlu.
isn't much. A solo could find a dip on
Evet,
the
lan
side.
tiba terörte olmak.
Friendly Fire is going to hear that vehicle, as will everyone else. I'd be surprised if he even makes it in, but Uba has done some pretty incredible things solo
bazen
before.
er
As
ki
you
var
said
hep
yesterday,
de.
going from 12th place to 4th is not bad, as he saved them with a few kills and placement points.
Navi and Uba in particular. I mean, Uba has been doing this when he was on Face Flame.
Dostlar da olaydı o.
He is so good
Bunu takdim etti.
He's so good at punishing other people's mistakes. He doesn't need to set up a good play, but if someone does something stupid or uncalculated or just based off of misinformation, he will punish it every single day. There's a reason why he was the mini master even before the mini was a proper
Vardı
thing.
da bu tane timing'den
He
mutları
just
bile.
farmed people and we're like, wait, how does
Üstte de.
Face have 7 kills already and Uba has 6? They're like, oh wait,
Ha,
they
tati
haven't even been close to
günahlar
anyone, but he
adamlar.
just punishes people for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And even as a solo, he could still potentially go out and get 2 or 3 kills with very little risk involved.
Hop diyor hayır diyor olur. Buydu.
Being on the receiving end of Uba's mini, it's not
Бля, марым манда керектірін әптір это, блядь, сеуллах.
especially when he was on phase.
This is an interesting
А,
circle
твисты
because
хорошие,
those
еще
stats
банки
that
яллар,
they're
блин,
gonna be all
упаемска.
kinds of happy with that as we see Twisted Minds finally getting inside the circle here, but there's a lot of unplayable terrain in the center of this one. Up on that hillside, it's gonna be hard to play around a stage.
Oo, Adolf skill'ın da bir yerden sırtta.
Where everyone is jammed so close
Zaten
to one
Gant'im.
another, and when the edge of circle is this open road, you're bounced.
Bu çiz noktamda. Duran.
Spray'de atı diyor az. Ama ya da iftarlar.
Eventually, actually, hopefully it's not stolen here, but look at this. The rest of day trade now coming in. Very dangerous.
Sada uzi.
What a play from a doozy.
If he didn't have to reload, you just see off of the first double headshot coming through, he's dialed in. The second count.
Bu yeni yeni herhalde bu da. Flash'ı.
They're taken down. If he could have reloaded that.
Bu kadar öğrenmenin, ne kadar öğrenmenin. Granat uzun oraya halleri o. İkini. Tak taka bağ sadece. Anlatıyor.
No.
Man, the stakes for Rain Doozy is absolutely dialed in, as you said, now taking shots at Uba.
Gibi bence fantaziyor di böyle.
Tahadlı. Görsük haydi.
Devastating hold on rotations here on the north side and question mark, but I'm now glued to Genji right at the edge of circle.
Next
Flash tutarlar bu blin.
next team to have to play patrol here.
Versus olarak. Ya sıkı da oluyor. İki yıl şimdi kafasına bakma. Mutkaya. Evet bu skrepi de almış. Kendini değil biraz ayıp ha.
Ты не брата, а бля, жалоб.
Öldüm.
Haydi la.
Flash. I mean, just for posterity at this point. I mean, the fact that Doozy has pretty much picked apart day trade, as Pixel will find the knock on a master, and they're gonna go off that. And I love this aggression again. Friendly Fire when they are when they're feeling good, they will push and they will find that aggression. And a knock actually coming from Phil first across the
Phil first.
They heard the commotion over here and they wanted a piece of the point.
Botulun headshot taşlardı.
They know they have to deal with forest before they can go further forward.
Oh, ben onu hediye kayıplı bu dedi şapşoka. Zaza master.
Skip set attı bile.
Dedik. Kimiydi bir?
Lazım attılar onu. Долбоёбы нахуй.
Ну, кроме же 6 очков. Без талаш, будь уже. Bitti.
Нахуй bu tabi twister tuhanlar gibi taktırıyor. Kayanlıgar. Tayılı onu pirokirler.
Onu tapatın yana attırayım bu. Tava da bunu yutturul.
Bağır canlar alır oğlu. Aha.
Oh! Oh, блин. Коем... Oh, kovaktıra hayatıldı. Ondan... Koyunda girdiler. İndiydiler. Bu konu bada olur.
Bir havralar oğlu. Hemen barıtırılır bu.
Evet, daha şunda mı bata bakıyor. Evet, haysallara olur. Bir haysın herhalde.
Fights will have to
Ondan
come to an
da
end
öyle
quickly
masal
for
da
these
ekstra.
teams to start focusing inward. Arena
Oh,
aware of
zeymiş.
this, trying to push forward. Nice defensive smoke being lobbed up there with the smoke grenade launcher. I believe that was Doozy saying you only have one angle to peek us where you're safe. If we block you off, you're forced
Başta
to
ya da
Doozy
güvenlik olarak
and
yani.
question mark don't want to take this fight to Arena right now. They just want to focus inward. They want to maneuver and say, let's just roll right in side by side because Arena is that much closer to the opponents. So let
Ama
them
sonuçta
take their
signem
joy
bulur
by
baha.
going their way. And well, we went from Korean on Korean
Evet, hayır.
action. Let's watch NA.
Beğendim bilir aslında bu bilin. Bilin bilir gaydılar bu.
Aha.
Ama
Ha bak.
evet görüşürüz. Evet. Balgalar bulacak.
That's a weird angle to have to spin to straight up in the air.
Smoke tari.
Goes finds the
İnci.
double headshot over the top, and that's one more
Sonics.
down. Strimsy only knock so far though. For Sonics should be able to get the rest on up. As Flood, fortunately for Sonic, is kind of holding off Gen G to the best of his ability. It was just before, so they're going to be wrapping
Ama süsette biraz daha onlar mı?
necessarily have to. The issue is these rocks are sharp and steep as hell.
Dayılı oluş
So they're
gösteriyor da.
easy to maneuver. So Gen G,
Ha,
if they want to
Taylu
be part of this
kadar
fight, it's going to
turikka
take them a
yaşıyor
while to get
işte.
Also just may have saw an MG42. Yeah, but in Pio's hands, that gun, if you don't know, is disgusting. Variable fire rate, but Pio's
Ama cinciler bir disk tane healer yaptı.
headshot trade from EJ in front.
Es.
AG.
But it's actually going to be Sonics with the assist.
The ultimate cleanup duty
Хана.
set up by
Кого
Sonics.
как-то
Flood said, guys, I did as
Минус
much
2
as I
растет.
could. Now it's on you. EJ
Бля,
is
пион
still
турун.
alive with the circle closing in and phase 5
Сука,
being
надо
on us.
бакан
It
туру
is going
рухунин.
to be difficult, if not near impossible, for them to get that in mind.
Ага, бля.
Ama.
Es.
Ay.
Finds the second as well. What a hell of a performance.
Чё?
as we see question mark forward.
Бля, сколько марка
А
взяла
Ran
тут?
over at Ducey
Oh.
Реплей дед что ли он это?
seeing this entire northern
Как
side of the
дырыли, ба.
circle get absolutely shredded to pieces.
And as we're talking about, this is a
Ебана.
symptom of this circle with so little to play. These teams are forced to fight. And look, Sonics will find a little bit of a reprieve here. But Cahалыы, just in the distance, should have the angles. Oh, Lin, careful now.
EJ did Sonic so
Hadi bir kayda var
well.
dura.
Imagine them having that hill with 4 alive. Wow, they could wrap back.
Hadi hayatlasları bu kovaktan.
Красавство. Теперь красавство до hayatımda. Perfect X хорош.
But they fall. What a turn. Again, awkward angle swaps to flick, but we see it time and time again. These guys on LAN, global setting, they don't care. They will play the best PUBG they can.
Да.
بلا بتقول لنا حدا اللي
We saw just straight up is
بقى لي
disgusting. And
لا ناخ
The follow-up pull-up, that is amazing.
Larix with 3 though, yeah, he will clean that up. And now on the south side, we do look at
Да, вам
Twisted
трепта.
as well as the Expendables. And the problem here is even if either one of these teams is able to get the flush and the knocks on the enemies, rotating in is going to be
Bir
very
kovakta
difficult.
crash outladı kovakta crash outladı.
Тенге
Played a couple of
bitirdi.
circles yesterday, and seems like they're still hungry for more as this one swings up towards the north. That
Bu ota adamı sınamadılar ya.
in it before it blows up, so we'll see what they can
Bilin
have.
twist'e geldi.
Twisted Minds moves early. They have to move early. They have to get here before Expendables possibly can. And look at the amount of damage coming
Yes.
through the smoke. Finds the first.
Ya vurdular.
Cahalыы has just been harassing. They have 5 kills, but I'm very curious to see what their damage is actually all about. As they
Ama
are
şimdi
just
doktor falan neydi tak?
the Expendables here.
Aslında var mı böyle?
Circle here, and they're pulled
Ha,
up right
ulan
above
mangas
Twisted.
herhalde.
Another team who has 0
Oh,
points,
bля.
but we cannot take out of the equation. As
Hiç rozgunlar takan hena.
Ha. Ha bir de size satanın nikakin.
This Expendables push in just seems to be Cahalữı points in the making.
Дико, дико.
Unfortunate is the word that I would use there for the
Kovaklar
Expendables
kaldılar
as
ana.
they did their best, but again, playing on this west wall is so difficult because as you see, there is just not much terrain. On top of the fact, we have a team like Cahalữı sitting center compound with sight lines onto pretty much everything. But I am very curious with the utility, with the lack of being.
Bir ki benim oğlanı baktı bir sigma attım böyle.
It's an awkward open angle for them.
Oğlum ne ki ne olur tahtada böyle.
To make their way around
Twisti.
that southern side of the hill, straight up. We can see this open field here. Thank you, observers, again. Eventually, they will have to pass through the field.
Ki bir abi yine tabi alan barına kutuna yaptır baha.
Evet, нас так төгөт тавь травит кимна. Батулина. Режаш калатар ол жетет. Эрлек гэнэ сактар. Навигнен төгөт бала.
and shoot at moving targets like you've been doing all game long.
At the very least for Twisted though, they do have that ridge to work with, so they are hidden from.
Peki kobahtır kandık da ya yani kandık regionu. Чека бах никто не так. Окей, тост не тик. Кескил день мала. Тост лаха трек.
It would have to really swing, but if it goes over here, both the Arena and Twisted Minds, despite being duos, could actually look prime to fight this one out. And if it goes south, it's all kinds of hell for Cahалыы. So everyone is going to wait for those extra 5 seconds to see whether.
Да Джинджи хас бидета.
Джинджи
топ-8 иннеги бада хоттаны тенес пикапыт. Да волын тиритриву. Плейстог плахтарына.
Эс 2 киллага.
Кем?
Ол гене киллахтарны. 3 киллах.
3 киллах. Ага, да давай 3 киллах.
А, Токио. Это что такое нахуй?
Топ-8 бада плахтарына.
Это бы не нахуй бачку лахтарды. Я много вей. No. Kim ксарвары нина.
Очконание мода хадайню.
Касада. Ашкурам, это им бир. Ким юхат урар ген битта. Ким юхат урар. Кари хо. Так я кари. А топ. Ким хас топ.
Это Оскар бада волыни.
Но, ну как это? Бля, это Оля Хиннагана. Короче, не... пьем еще и... Пьем еще и... На, нахуй.
Бля, спими.
Эй, ты не что так фунный инъекта. There really isn't much play. There's a dip. They could use their vehicles, but they're now starting to come in. They know that they have to get rid of this duo. As they left, yep, they.
Oh. Это слух был малый тебе битана. Да байды идут. Бегай, бегай. Oh, раз не бегай. Ну, кого-то будет дистать его, да. Ну, нах.
Выживает.
А без бэкэнд там для Тайлу Петра Корова 4-4 М50. А нах.
А, Тайлу Каерба.
Думаешь? Эс. Ол
Кана некоторые.
сам Марин бадил. Линкурар Авинан хэт трехтревли. Антон. Пикай да Мари, блядь, дурак нах. Дунан киник энни райнан кидиннере, блядь, Антон тылахар. Атак парахана разум тулары ола. Вы же намасларого, что ли? А баба, ты видишь машину? Вот, смоки раскидать в кемп, блядь, туда-сюда, нах. Пистолет падает, пистолет смог. Кемп КТН. Не гonna ходим это. Индин. Вот перехана на день, это тало плохо ехали, это туротить. Ты вода падут? Не хамас да? Как кем падут, мы драбайдем. Teraz same kaka.
А, вот. Джиан.
Ага, то вода. Киллер я.
А, на дропол там травик на тренде.
Как саме кори, пусть надо. А бас утилдер.
А, заебал нахуй вас настер ты. Хорош.
О, хорош. Карен. Ноктанма. Хай товарищ, где Телора, лоха был, как. Тун хо, хаем хо.
Трор.
Слышь, прага, он откидывайся. Бля, тура брабату. Абас, саран, саран.
Ага.
Абас, свеча растут. Хахана алар, ха? Ха. Самый гид уже как бида, бля, уже гауки. Абас, два, бля. Локтан, бро. Право, галя. Тахан битари, бро. Матам бля, бля.
Турсан.
Особен надо.
Ксама.
Турсан, я галя. Киндура галя.
Ксама. Туралар. Блин.
Туралар, пуста.
Тута.
Ау!
Бля. Бара.
Бля, посвес, бля, хатлыс да тенем, да? Хордахты хуп зелень.
Волган кар.
Вот.
Бasta nästa тенida.
Бля, пигай татын динне. Питер особенно не татын не юра. Инекен фава сәлләр. Инде кило бутыр. Ай, балет. Ладно, меня холодильника.
Тура хмарна.
Туда.
I did not think Petrichor was going to be able to make it happen here against Cahaalły, but they did.
I didn't either. We saw the Cahaalły catching circle after circle. They were set up defensively. Petrichor had to stop pushes. They had to eliminate everybody else, and then they make that push. And honestly,
Walbar tokia toh pet.
I thought that's it. Cahaalwy's got this.
Modern orada mobba.
Because Petrichor stuck the res and then got to push a 2v1, and it was just brilliantly executed.
That double BZ, if they were able to hit the building, I think that Petrichor's in all sorts of trouble, but not to be as we take a look at these highlights. Some great fights going on. Rello with the flick against them. I loved this push by aaArena as well.
Modern orada.
Eliminating some of that.
Çeşitliğin olsan gelmeyin.
And it was the only
Önüme
play
turayım
available
kumarını
that
bir
got them into
sıka.
the top four because that spot was all the only option.
Бля, то ты.
Push that I think most teams would have hesitated to even try.
Тох асмр хаюн эми.
We go here. We got to see Shen
Курасан буду тараварать.
work in that
Сладко.
game, and that's where I thought, oh man, Cahaalwy's got this thing. These
Игорь
guys
Бекком хобари мен.
Abi Discord'ka telefondan girer. Ona kolban karıyor kara.
and then the jump shot,
Нахуй бы.
beautiful way to execute the finish.
Тут старый уровень дано.
Jump shot
Yeah.
on the stage. He
Zaza.
understands. He knows exactly what's going on there. And I think
Zula.
it boils down to, I mean, of course,
Argan
Cahaalły
ne?
looks great, but Petrichor now there as well. Tough is, China is
Бля,
looking
шагу, что это за?
Are currently, I mean, dominating, and there's no way around it. They
Лехан баралик та.
3 wins yesterday. They're already off to an insane start.
Леха баралик та.
I don't know how you stop.
Ah pa.
It might be difficult considering what we're seeing. Of course, early days. Early days here. Miramar's looking.
Я так что лоба кахенина.
Controlling. Let's talk about some of the other scenarios that actually go on here, though, as well. For the North American team.
Келер Токио, блядь, чё ты дымна хефта чё?
Against
А?
teams like Gen G, for example.
Я не
Getting crunched down a
агаттал
little bit,
гини.
but overall some really good shots back and forth.
Bir bilgi hakkında yani.
To Gen G. Gen G saw some American teams fighting and thought, hey,
Ага.
that looks
Alo
tasty, just like
yeminler
in the
bağlar,
last game. They
zıvı
went out
var.
and tried to clean it up.
Bugün.
Sonics, I think, got the jump on everybody from
Bugün de.
ground position.
Inter bağ.
And that was again. There was a good spot.
Huh?
If the circle had gone in that
Хада
direction,
хада.
they're in good position.
Alo kimin вылетел же.
Gen G, I thought for sure top 5 in this
Эй,
game.
лучше
They've got
спот
a really
напишем,
good
да.
position.
Yeah.
Уже
Just
видно.
stayed where they were, and you just
Aynanex. Oh.
A little bit, I suppose, but you would think, as you said, that that's a great spot for them to start their campaign on a game like this, or at least guarantee themselves a top 5. So,
لا حتى كي يقولوا ضربة يو. كين بعد так. Так, ребята, или ты готов хенер, или ты готов хенер щиты за Сахалар яндина.
but again, Cahaalły 10, and it's the Shen Zhangyang kind of show here.
Салгын жаны кытта нява пынди.
Unbelievable.
It's like it really is.
Онда халгын жаны кытта нява мен нява пынди. Халгын нарин.
Experience, up and coming all-star, playing so well at the same time.
Халгын жаны
Да,
кытта нява.
Волбан модер verdiğim diyeyim mi bro?
Road, allowing Petrichor Road
Модерна телевидение.
not hitting the their shots, they should at least come in with 1 or 2 knocked, right?
I do believe
Да,
it's
так.
danger to catch in circles, right? I think they were a little bit kind of sit at there.
Дай без тебя темпе детства, бля, на хуёво. Ких, бля. Вроде бы какая-то дохана, отбавь тебя куда у него надо ула. Бля, хата это не лабы там по 50 по сотке. Он, бля, это дохана не жалко ула. Какая дохана. Какая дохана.
Det smakar allt, bля.
Так, блин, это хай-хай. Блин, псохка. Биди меня, окей.
Давай.
На, ну, блядь. Ветерангер, блядь. Не жалко было. Какая дохана чуть-чуть, блядь. Какая дохана чуть-чуть приятно. И потом я дандену. Костынанде.
Это... Води, тохтин ты. Показатель.
Проверочный.
Тренировочный. Скримы. Кири, бро, дес. Ну, только чатка урьяки его полалы, да, Наверное, тохтан Кири мара так.
Я за главного. А говорю, не пта. Это гейм, бля, именно хаган хэпти по хата.
Стрим таскал, ботан гейм кая хата на Токио серьезно наспит.
Здравствуйте,
Салам алейкум. Стрим развлекает их от здоровья.
Здоровья, здоровья. Это она, да. Блин, хотя бы какие желания тоже, или лыни. Hey, Lord. Восхода легко не полторенин. Как бы то было было, а то, ну, это винды. Как бы то было, деньги это индит.
Братан, $1 донатать, это просто мозгой.
Ред надо, да, рылында.
Баскин мне. Да, блин, рыбнула хорошо. Это были рыбным. Французский рыбным.
Ларри.
Это, бля, бязы без рыбным, да. Ты эти даханы рыбным, да.
Ага.
А, вот это, а кто то он не он имеет рядом, да.
Миндардри.
Hello. Салют. Ча.
Идеал. Пикассо. Салонды. Дахсташтын. Дахсташтын. Устернили. Брезда.
Манумай.
Нахай мандык балалы баши, да.
Тохта.
Я бы ветераном, конечно, рекомендую.
Follow us over on Instagram. You can check them out at Razor MENA. And I will say this, and I think this is what's going to happen on Tego. The margins will be razor thin for a lot of these teams. Sure. It is difficult transitions. There's only so many ways to cross the river. If we get something up in the north, which I'm really hoping for, we're going to see not only which teams have taken the time to prep this map, because I do think it's only 2 of 12. I do think there are some teams that they'll tell me, yeah, but they're just not going to be as crisp as the ones who put the time in. We're going to see the difference.
I mean, it's basic
Да,
statistics.
всех подотта.
You are not playing as many takes.
Стримим кораллером, если что. Дрова туки, дрова.
Towards the very end. So, depending on how much practice you have regarding it, depending on how much you're able to adapt to what is, I think, a middle ground.
Югаяхын идере, Игорь. Стенда биле.
You could potentially have yourself a decent spot. But thank you very much for
Юхтаны турьяра туки.
It's time for a break here at PGS 2. When we return, we're moving on to Tego to see how all these teams are going to fare.
Nasıl oluyor hadi? Bir kelime ama ne kadar batıp durdum bak. Hadi hat kamera aldı. Кимбарида. Так, лайки прижимаем, ребят. Лайкос, стрим-сыспыппыт. А буду, типа, долгий перерыв тут уйду. Ту-ту-ту-ту-ту.
حتاكل انت تشبع وانت مستمتع وتلاقي الوجبه جايه على الاصول. يجيك العيش هش طالع من الاوفن والدجاج يقرمش just the way I love it. وتسوي كده وتسوي كده وتسوي كده مع الحشمه وانت بغراب خفيف اجيب تويستر. انا اجيب لي وجبه الزنقه بس كله يجيب اكسترا تشيز على الكرانش تشيكن سنتر. حطلب باكيت حطلب زنقه حطلب مايتي حطلب تويستر. جيب له باكيت جيب له زنقه جيب له الاصلي جيب له تويستر. delicious yeah.
Khá. One into hình như vậy. Chapta. Abi, đào cái gì này. Apa tay đây. Kira apa ya orang kita.
There is a place where you can elevate what's hidden inside.
Ребят, уступите вашей жесткой трешки дало.
Kadında.
Aşağı. Merhaba. Kolkos kabul etmesi hastalandı. Aşağı keyif sana.
Hayır bir de gösterdi.
Şimdi göster.
Şey öyle. Tak hayır.
Enter new dimensions of you. Tsunami.
Haskasırız. Ya oturuz gösterdi. Haska deri kesilleri. Trine bak. Tamam. Ini basah ini. Lawan. Ucunda tohtar ini.
All new Honor 90. Capture ultra clear detail with a 200 megapixel.
Bak haska kali bırakalım pati. Foto teri. Ты что адер баре потом вообще жауаным жанадым.
Токи халкын кейкинде. Датын хаскын кесте артында.
Мында.
Honor 90. Share your vibe.
Ало.
Скину сырдыгы.
Хазы.
Open your eyes. Tonight I'm gonna share.
Нэнси в матче сидит тут.
Марын телефонда камералары.
I need warriors.
Kaç minute перерыв тайду?
10 minut енді.
16 түрдің хубар дем бата. Таяга ула. Точно, блин, что 13 минут олар что ли?
Сгонди.
Туратны көрөт та.
Давай.
Тох пари. Убайтын көрөт та. Ним. Хайытай. Хайытай чана.
Так. Тугары хотым арады.
Kimde hooni.
Уйсхан ой буде юут. Ты дымнут это чаюс. Кем? Тохи. Я не кихне хайгни. Так.
Bas highlight ko ka. Highlight ko ka.
Kim highlighting karo itu? Gitu ngeri.
Toki highlight ko ka. Ayun.
Highlight itu nara. ده من اتاك ابو يسكا دار شي بعدك بالدرا والله دي ده سخواتك نا
Tuda.
окно захватывает не браузер а окно
Wanna?
от чего не дискорд не я знаю ой простын турган Ким хайлайтинг короче хайлайтинг ты нахуй спокойно приятного аппетита бро
Toki ile kalora da silimi.
No Wolgun Kerba Эй Жесткий хайлайт кадров на чах
Pink diyor.
Emmet Pink kanalda harbiden de.
Bilmiyorum.
Emmet Pink yang ada horlardı. Emmet Pink PUBG. Baştan bilahar olup duralım.
Вот ссылка по ТикТоке.
Красавчик. Он такой бить именно так. Никто. Экран захвата так, хоть хуй это. Захват экрана. Маннык. Gösterdi de.
Easy go.
Ping'de. Ahmet Ping'de. Karena kayaknya bahan nama ada Ping'de. Я был в итоге. man byttyy med det. Jag lite mycket.
Ja.
Ilman on räkning paketa hit. Vad gör det? Vad hade? Vad till jag var kitu. Oj. Kuulus mitä? Sige paljon voimaa siitä on ollut, mutta kerran taas ei. Niin näin siellä. Jovi.
Бля, под нахуй враг. Жестко. Так. Рашхан.
Det var også vildt sejt, at der ikke kunne jo.
Нахуй пока нахуй. Чисто врана рейнг. Ладно, highlight.
Virus.
Чисто проехала, Gebertilerim. No, olin pitäisi preftirba. Ne mindig zoektaan dat alle pitäisi eetelen met niet daar. Dat ging er eetler ba. Так, وانا قد ضربين دتشا شاكا واحدة ده وكيف чисто правый пикерин, да. Esteydi.
Then Foxy has been wonderful for them.
Rahva
Marikka. Mitä? Sekretari onpa tuo.
Off chance that it's going to be a 2-point game if you can just consistently, whether it be via placement points or kills, rack up those 7, 8, 10 points per game.
There you go. Kalau itu rendah. Itu sandi mekanika deh ya. Kalau itu mekanika dah. Sandi. Pihawat ya kalau itu kemata. Tahu Asal nak hype itu ada sesuatu dulu. Apa? Atau mana? Kau itu rata kau itu roh ya.
Flexing off from the remaining of his teammates, whether they then are in a 3-1 or a 1-2-2 or a 1-2-1 split. PO tends to be on an island of his own. Sometimes that results in him getting great info and getting a lot of kills. Sometimes it does not. Here we've seen him be much more set up with his teammates, and now we'll see if they do that as we move over to Tago.
I'm actually most excited to see how teams like Genji, how teams like Sonics are going to do now in the group stage, because this is their first Tago game. Yesterday, Tago with that ending, very few areas of cover. We saw teams like LG send it to a dip. Oh, and we actually have a
Hey, sgondi bro.
Betul lah bah. Betul lah bah. Kau kau bahas tu bah.
Yeah.
Ada e-sports sebab gol lah bah. Ada.
Coming in a slant, which means if you jump out late, you're going to be closer to the ground when you jump out, meaning you won't be able to stretch as far. So we have all these other places out towards the east that you want to jump out reach. But because the plane is now closer to the ground when it comes down on that southern side, teams can't really stretch that far. And we'll see
Tara, kan kemana kalau ada ini kita. Bagaimana tahu kata?
Dropping in their spot as well.
Men navi gibi.
Doesn't actually look like many contentions.
Membolana Sonic gibi.
You don't say, I mean, Tanvu is a great player, don't get me wrong, but you don't say Tanvu.
Sonic siapa? Bas, first kime temin hada uta. Pilpar senin.
Boleh kita.
Ibadah, bahala tu itu.
But we had it in previous tournaments where if you do an interview the game after, you get absolutely torn apart. So Genji lose PO after an interview.
Anladım.
But they get a blessing of a hell of a circle.
So this circle,
yeah,
for those of you that don't know, that red area is unplayable, right? On top of
literally, you can't go there.
Yeah, on top of the fact that the southern area of this map is actually one of the few areas on Tago where you actually have sudden changes in elevation. Most of it, especially the north, is going to be gradual. You'll see a lot of forests and things of that nature be a gradual incline, but not on the south side, on top of that red unplayable area.
And for those of you guys don't already, of course, I highly advocate that you have the map stream open while watching this tournament as well.
Tak boleh turik dia tu streaming ni nol jangan begitu.
I want your exclamation mark map in the chat. I'm sure we have some friendly mods that will do that for us right now. Because when you look at the map, as we see some of these teams get their loot game going, start their early rotations, look at how many areas of approach we're cutting off. You talked about kind of the southern tip, that big red line that is
Kim bari tu ya tu kan.
coming in from the east.
Tapi atam bitin dia tu kemarin. Ayaska.
So we're forcing teams into this small corner, and you have water on the southwest side as well, effectively allowing people to only use what is half the circle to entry from. So the whole idea of through that wide wrap around to get in from the quiet side, literally impossible in a southern shift like this.
So we will, and Mamu goes. Come on, Mamu. Come on. No, he's too far now at this point, I think. But he still could get the spray. The pans are not an option, but
I just whenever people pull up pens,
Abas
something great is about to happen, and We haven't really seen it yet.
We saw it in the fight in San Martin. The Panzerfaust being actually quite... it was Petrichor holding that onto that thing with Dear Life trying to get any kills with it, but it looks like 777 will get out,
Lives with the scare. But to go back to your point.
Yeah, I want to talk about some of the rotation that we will actually see. As you said, rotating on the east side, going very wide, which we see on maps, is not really going to be an option here, especially when you do have a team like DD Team holding a nice little angle to gatekeep those positions. Meanwhile, on the west side of things around school, that can be a very precarious area to rotate it just because it's so open.
Exactly, not easy at all. There we see the kill coming through from Phil first as Gen G lost one right as they touch the ground. Not what you want to have happen, but that's why you convert your good games into phenomenal games, because they will not always line up the way you want them to. You're so. It was his birthday yesterday, and now, well, I guess a birthday gift was a flight with a glider, and here he is, scouting forward. And in all fairness, I don't mind this at all.
I don't either.
Have 3 players drive down below, especially in a circle like this that's hard to maneuver in. And they're so far north anyway. He flew across. You know what I think he did? He flew across the bridge to make sure no one was bridge camping. He came in, he swung south around Hart, flew in up on that northern side of Terminal to just check and make sure that no one was camping the bridge. If you're going to use a glider, that's why you do it.
Use it to scout, because as we know, or if you don't know, gliders are actually pretty much made out of paper mache, as we see that nice little Petrichor fan. Very nice, but yeah, it is very low on HP, and you can get shot out fairly easily depending on how low you go. But as you said, we've seen Sol actually stay up in the top, and he's using it to scout almost like a UAV, and at that distance, he should be fairly safe from any gunfire. So really interesting and very good use of the glider.
Should be. D+ trying to make their way into the circle, and again, we're already seeing teams bunch up to much more of an extent that you would on all other maps, and in particular in all other areas of the map.
ссылкам тохыты. Комьюнитиге аяхвар.
This circle presents itself, there's only so much you can really utilize. LG will group up, I would imagine, on Rello as they'll try to again, I mean, just sit tight and accept the fact that they're going to have neighbors all over.
They've actually found a decent compound to play in this one, though. Very nice rotation early from LG as notoriously known for having those really great windows of opportunity when they rotate. So they did find that. And looking at the circle, though, Toby, everyone is already so compacted in the middle.
The north and the northwest side completely barren. But of course, we still have plenty of teams that has to make their way on in. And speaking of making their way on in, here comes DD Team trying to make their way further forward. They didn't get to fight early this game, but they still managed to pull. Oh my God. Just short of Stelwyn. Those managed to take out Emo Pick. The DD Team are in trouble. Now,
that was a disgusting panzer. It looked like it actually hit the back of the vehicle, but the AK spray was able to finish that off. It's just down to Mamu now in a second game in a row.
Били мамоньки гибят,
They're now down to just one.
Берегите мамоньки.
I mean, Mamu has lane experience, but the rest of the team doesn't, at least up to the same extent.
Sure.
So it's a team that in their region plays heavy edge. It's a team that lingers around for long, that tries to creep around. It's kind of similar to Gen G style. They'll keep bouncing around until they find a safe entry. Try and keep their players alive until late game, and kind of play it that way around. Here, they've just come to this LAN event and gone, we're going to change up everything. We're hot dropping Cinder. We're like sending it full speed towards the middle in the early game and see what we can make happen. And I'm like, why fix it if it ain't broke? I hope that coming off, maybe they just want to get off to a confident start, I suppose, with not being this shy from taking fights. But I really hope that DD Team goes back to looking at how did we qualify, and then try and implement more of that in their playstyle.
I think it also goes back to what you and I were talking about earlier before the tournament started, is how many strong edge teams do we already have at this event? Maybe they thought, okay, hold on a second, Mabu here. He's dead. Yeah, he's probably dead here. He's got the nade-in-hand shotgun. He's going to go down. So team again, a second game going last. But I think that may be a factor with so many strong edge teams and doing, I'm sure they've done some research. They said, you know what, there's not that many teams going for center, especially in some of the groups that we'll be playing, and why don't we try it? But I agree with you. Do what got you to the dance.
And in their defense, in this particular game, very difficult circle. They knew they would have to probably fight a lot of teams in that middle if they wanted anything. They thought, but there's no way everybody crashes into this circle. We can see in the
Раки точно не утеют, тайна.
with the exception of 1 or 2 teams. But now let's hear from Daku.
То меха не точно не ута.
quick interview, a quick insights to Game PT as we swing straight back to Cahалыы, our current first place team. A little unfair as they have of course played more games than some of the other teams. But still, Cahалыы has come off to a start I could not even begin to imagine they would have. I knew that Shen on a good day could get things going, but the Shen train has become a Xiaoyang train, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, the ability of Xiaoyang and even again the rest of the team we talked about earlier. Providing the support to their two players who are popping up, which is absolutely wonderful as well. So, Arena, we saw a little bit from them in the first game of Miramar, but for the most part, they've actually been struggling just mainly with their rotations.
It's again a case of a team with limited and none when it comes to global experience, and they're still, I mean, just running through an open field. Oh my God, that brain Dante, that was filthy.
I was discussing, but Larix actually, I will say, for this team has been wonderful so far, getting a quad kill for himself. Best of luck now, trying to finish this off so he can res his teammate in Dante.
They lose two, but their approach timing is good because they've caught question mark split. Because of it as well. Let's see now how they manage to maneuver. They hear the commotion down here. They want to see what's happening.
Oh, and they might just run right into friendly fire.
Look at where this is. It's on the very southern edge of the map, so there's no space. Keep on going. Don't turn left or right. Just go straight. Do not start turning.
Just keep swimming.
Yep, just smile away, boys.
They will back off here, but yeah, that's all you can do, smile and wave.
I like it from Friendly Fire though, the small jabs here and there. Let's not just stay stale in a compound and just sit around and do nothing for 20 minutes, even if the circles come to us. No, let's be proactive. Let's go out and see if we can wound the teams that are nearby us, wound the teams that could potentially come threats further down the line. And they do so even though they don't get kills here, they do so by trying to come out and get kills in this situation. Circle, send us up, Navi.
But again, look how much unplayable area is still in the circle, Toby, and a lot of teams now, I would imagine, maybe even TE looking down, opting to play a little bit of that studio here as we watch Forest Gaming starting to rotate in here as well, and everyone's starting to feel the pressure of the circle already.
Sure are. D+ trying to so far succeeding. We saw yesterday full-on gauntlet, send it straight down the middle on this map, and now they're trying to do it again this time around though with a little more success as they are. Americana has to get here too. But seems like all of them have gotten here. And Strimsy, Panzerfaust.
This is a very nice plateau that Kia finds himself in, but yeah, it is very susceptible as well from multiple angles. So,
pushing this?
Expandable down the street. It looked like they were trying to maybe get a little bit of damage or and I like this. There's no real reason to push them off that plateau.
I was just actually going to comment on it. That's one of the things, like one of the takeaways. We haven't seen a lot of multiple. Here comes the rule. He's setting it up, and he's parked the car, so he's defending himself from behind. But there's always a risk involved when you start lobbing the mortar shells over the top.
So Tig did tell me today. Breakfast. He said, "I will get mortar kills. I promise you." So he is actively looking for it. But yeah, he'll pack it up for now. But yes, look for Tig specifically. He wants to get some kills with that bad boy.
And that's what I was gonna say. We haven't seen a whole lot of use of it coming into the tournament when it was announced that both mortars and Panzerfaust was gonna be a thing. It seemed to me like, as crazy as the Panzerfaust can be, everyone were really concerned about the mortars. Everyone was so worried, like, oh my god, everyone is going to be bringing rulers and sit there on screen doing the math of exactly the trajectories of these mortar shells. Maybe it's just because it's still early stages of the tournaments, but I don't recall having heard a single mortar hit the ground in this tournament.
I don't think so yet, but I do understand after talking to some of the players as well that the concern is if you are a team that is gifted, right, and you have the ability to use a mortar, it can be very devastating as it is set up. And
and a flare gun.
And a flare gun. You know, Sonics is just...
They're playing normal mode here. They get everything. Just give them a PRDM while we're at it.
You know what, just throw in a little airdrop on top of them. Why not? A couple P90s, maybe an ARM in there. Who knows?
You never know what's going to come down that crate. We'll see what they're given. Also just coming out and claiming the stuff they're about to acquire. I mean, there's a lot of teams around Sonic still, so we'll see if either Dano or Gen G expendables or maybe.
كل شو مارك بيسكي لحظة دقيقة نعم بتري. كوخترية.
That's the thing, it can still include unplayables.
That is going to make areas where Gen G is Danawa specifically, even day trade, they're going to have some really rough rotations in as there's multiple teams in front of them.
I can't
ويش قاعد كوتية.
like if this next circle center in 15 seconds
مش
swings
نماني
just
هاللي
above
بتاعهم ده
the
كل شو
circle
مارك.
in on the southern side, there's
وناس
gonna
بوينت.
be we're gonna have like phase 6, phase available, so this peninsula goes so far north. Let's see where oh where does this one take us? How brutal are you going to be to us, PUBG?
It does go somewhat south.
في لو ست الجول اللي دبلاتي.
Petrichor, though, I will say, have a very strong position in this game.
Definitely. They're set very, very tight on the southwest side. Issue is there's going to be a lot of people coming their way. I think everyone now that aren't currently or already in are going to try and wrap south. There's nothing to plan on the northern side.
أبغى أسكون غير ولا بحاول.
Where, my dear friends, are you planning on going? They're going to fly through the middle into compounds where teams aren't currently fighting each other. Expect to see, I was just going to say, expect to see a lot
أبغى يمكن نعمل كده يعني لبته.
coming up this next moment.
Shoot so early, you just don't fall fast enough, and Pucci is
بيل الله.
shot out of the sky, plucked, and now it's going to be Belmoth as well. At least
والله بالتمي.
Flash will also survive. So
بس ما استنى هذا النوع ده أنا والله.
I think we say that a little bit too early because now Belmoth falls. Belmoth is going to get flashed as well, flushed, as well as Flash falls now too. I thought at least they touched the ground.
أو خنيا توقع ها.
Kudos to them, they made
Gibbs.
landfall, but
Vodka.
one entry. Unfortunately, there's no participation medal in this one. You
Ой,
have
будем
to,
вот до навыки бить
well,
то
we'll see. Nerds is prone somewhat center in the circle. We know this one is going to swing north.
Киеварга.
15 teams live, 52. We'll put a little Lawrence cam in the corner and see how long he survives for.
I love that.
Блин,
At
что
least he's alive for now, but now we see Gen G now starting to encroach on the position that we saw earlier.
Смоками.
Starting to push
Довольно.
D plus
До
Kia,
нава.
so- and again, this is a very good
Смотрю, Таня, блядь, плохо
plateau.
еб.
Gen G is coming full swing here. Salute now going to take a spray into the side of D plus Kia.
Dynamo wrapped into this angle.
Там, ну, блядь, все.
We'll see exclusively for a while at least on this map too. Seems got enough, so much pressure is being applied.
Там добил бы ты.
Still don't know
Хорош, хорош,
they're weak to.
хорош, Маем, хорош. Хороший Ноникс.
Don't know exactly how to approach him. Dynamo is making very good use of the
Oh,
situation.
like,
Hildo is to try and wrap
Килла
up
бы
Zenith
махать
first,
надо,
but now
да.
there's still two players up on this side of D+. And
Там бы до нава хотон халла, да, атар.
as a matter of fact, it's only seen it down so
Лок,
far.
локим,
From
это.
D+ Kia.
Yes, very nice hold. And
Это бал, блядь.
it does allow for that. It has nice little mounts,
Да, еле.
nice little ridges for them to use. Iononyx, though, he is going to flush out Zenith. And really the issue for Danawa was Sonics taking shots at them just to the east. So
I think had they known there was a full team set in that compound and known how exposed they would have been from behind in trying to make that push, they might have wanted to make the push, but no way they would have approached it from the angle that they did. So again, this is where even the best teams in the server will be making mistakes on Tago. It's always phenomenal to see because this is a mistake that Danawa will only make once, and a mistake that other teams will see Danawa having made and therefore never make them.
Şimdi Forest'ta şöyle tırılır ettiler.
You need those teams to make the mistakes in order for other teams to learn off of it.
yeah, VOD review definitely helps that. But again,
Ah,
this is the
they
symptom of- okay, so we knew this was going to be a shift off the unplayable area, but again, that just causes so many issues for the team, specifically on the west. So that position that Petrichor had, so
Mine para
rotate
ötecek.
into question mark who have actually filled them.
Martinelli.
Tyloo trying to cut out the engine and sneak their way further forward. They know for a fact they're going to be running into trouble, and as soon as they come up like, no, Genji's like, yeah, nah, you're not sitting there. That's not gonna happen. You want to get your foot inside the circle, you better
Kabul
fight
hatta
into
biz XX şimdi. Hatta bir de dedi.
no other entry. Unless if they heartstring around, but then they have
Hatta biz X2 hadi.
5 teams set out west to try and take him out. Their best approach is north. It's terrible.
Evet, benim çıkımda her zaman tutuyor aynı yıllar.
Стиската хаятар раптар.
Ama skillerin friendly fire ya burada.
And Die as a team as we now see them starting to send in. This is what we were talking about. The options were very limited. There's not even very
Эй, снихуя Норман шит, бля.
plucked out of that vehicle. And shots coming through, they at least make it to this wall, but it's not
Hey.
Melzo the trade all of a sudden, Toby.
One knock comes in that might just be the door opening, and and allowing for them to push further forward. Longs and Shin trying to run forward as well, but they're exposed to so many angles, and there is the solo. Claim some points, try and convert something off of what is a salvage game here at Day Trade. Already have a 0-point game off of the hot drop situation in San Martin earlier. They don't want to go out without anything in this one either, so at least Norrens has found one. We'll see if he can get more.
The problem is Na'Vi will recover that knock onto Mel, and Uba now with the angle onto 55, 55, just at least gets the kill. He gets the 1 point for now, but he's in a very good position as we now see LG starting to make their approach on friendly fire on one side as we hop over to the fight here. We saw them try and wrap down behind Petrichor earlier, but as we said, Petrichor in prime position. All they have to do is sit here and wait it out. Chewy is gonna fall to the nade of Pixel, and well, with phase 4 coming through, there's nothing they can do to rest him. It's Forest against Luminosity. Master, single player left alive, but don't count him out. We saw what he did in the previous one. Yeah, Master, an absolute clutch player here for Forest. As again, as you said, the last one alive, Munto, potentially resable.
See Expendable starting to flex in this direction.
Oh, bravo, heading nasty.
Over the top of his head. If there's a viewer sat out there with a big TV, he just duck. I mean, that is one of those where he just full on duck. That was a full on Panzerfaust into the head, but not a whole lot comes off of it, luckily. On the side of Luminosity now, full reset, fast reset has to be commenced because Expendables are here, ready to punish. Snaker sees no other option. Back off.
I was going to say, speaking of duck shoes and the rest of the Expendables with a beautiful, and their timing and their ability to pick those third parties has been so good this event, so far, which has caused them so much success.
Yep. Sure has been. They've been an APAC team that I didn't consider the biggest threat on the server, but they sure as hell have been out here delivering right from the get-go. Hopefully they can keep up the momentum, because as we know, with every single stage we progress to, whether it be winners, losers, eliminations, or grand finals, the points will reset. So as great as it is to get plenty of points here in the group stage and get yourself to grand finals, you have to be able to repeat that success.
At the very least, it does give them confidence, right? Especially if they're playing this well early. But look at this now, Petrichor on the bottom of this, and this is one of those steep elevations we were talking about that isn't really available on the other sides of the map.
Cliff set off on the side as the info gatherer. Someone trying to wrap down below.
Absolutely not. And a nice little approach again. This is so intelligent here coming from the side.
I thought he had an angle on them, but he doesn't.
He did spot them out though, which is why their approach is so careful. And now here comes excuse me, he's gonna find it. That's the first knock, and they have struck. TE is gonna back up.
It's a 5-second bait. That's all Ixlef needed to be. Park a bike outside the shack, go, okay, we'll shoot at it for a while. Force him to stand still and shoot for a second. Somewhere is gonna take full advantage. One down, Expendables forced to move. That was a beautiful.
It's gonna be Tanvu and What? He seemed totally camouflaged in there too, but able to spot him through the leaves. Finds one more Expendables opportunity. Looking at the rest of the circle now. It's actually going to be question marks spreading out as much as they can on the west side. I do like that for them, but this fight has still not concluded. Both members of the Expendables closing in different angles, but Summer is going to go down. Yep, Summer falls from up above. I was a little worried. I think he thought that they were looking his way, but the flash that locked on over into his approach, and now IGL down, but Ixlef and Milk can still easily pack a punch as they go. As well, coming from Petrichor, we saw them on that west side, skirting all the way in the south in the unplayable area. And 6 kills to their name. They're just looking for this last member of the Expendables. If they're able to get rid of him, they can still have a hell of a game ahead of them, especially with some third-party opportunities. Mill heard the nade popped on the so when the other side flash out up on over top, he needs Ixlef there now. He's spotted on the side. He's able to take one down. So dangerous up close, and there's no return. The kill does come in, but that's H-Win. Well, that's an unlucky loss of a teammate, but he's going to have to solo this one out. And the team of D+K, who has sat in that ridge for so long, still has so much to play for.
Abi huotam tyhjän päivältä, että haissan läptä.
no tonne viis. Ubah.
Tää voi olla huotaga. Oh,
Allah şeydi biraz.
Jävla se on nada tätä.
That was a beautiful play for them to anchor them there, but I'm also looking on the east. Sonics now with pretty much all control over the circle. They have so many ridges and everything to play for, and they've been doing a decent amount of damage as well, but this is the fight that's going to matter. Who is going to come out on the west? Is it going to be Navi, question mark, or will it be Twisted Minds?
This bowl is so horrible for Twisted Minds to be. And good thing for them is they know that Navi
Mutta hän pitää tehdä tätä.
question mark can't fully commit to
Tohtori pitäisi käydä vangarda.
shutdown on approach. So Twisted Minds,
Abas.
if we can chill just a little while longer. Question mark has
Tuli hänelle ole.
to push us
Oh,
here.
hän olisi tullut.
Is wait for long enough for question mark to back off and then we make our
Se
play. But
täydä.
the truth is these
Filmien viljelee, mutta hän on ottanut.
and now, well, that's Lou down for the second time.
Yeah, Navi also has to move, which is causing all of this headache here for Twisted, and question mark does want to at least try to get an angle onto this. Maybe they can get some points, maybe they can get a knock and cripple the teams on the west, because that would make their rotation in earlier even better.
Where does Navi go on this though? Do they opt to go on the southwest side? I feel like that's a wasted opportunity. The issue is they know that they didn't get all of Tyloo, and yeah, I was just gonna say they have to come out and poke. They have to try and force the fight to happen between other teams, and I think that's what they're actively trying to do here. They know that they have Tyloo players in their midst, and they know that Genji sat just on the other side. So all these players kind of keeping each other or preventing each other from making a move.
Mutta heillä on noita.
Too much. Perfectus wanted to get the nade onto Navi, and that is exactly the problem, Toby. They can't commit to one side because they'll get shot from
Oh,
the back, and
я бы станет на это.
The jump start to the vehicle just yeeted forward and actually
Dobra, ja.
might just have helped them because it booted them straight up into cover. Now Batulin's down to low HP. Nate Barrage will come through, but they fall far. As I say that, oh my lord, because the first aid is popped, he's able to stay alive. That one though takes him down even lower, and Navi should have an easy time cleaning up the remaining two Twisted Minds players. Uber around the side finds one, shoots through. Example finds the other. Twisted out in 8th.
still have to find something to play ahead of them as we now look at the fight between Key and Question Mark. Question Mark is actually pushed out, and all he finds Longs with the Panzer somewhere in the distance as Uber and the rest of Navi are making this work.
Headshot revealed, headshot taken.
Chyba taka narodzinowa.
Connected as aaia. Really a step up performance from aaia over this tournament. We always talk Uber, we always talk example, but aaia has really proven to be up there along them as a heavy
aaia хорош. Убах, давай.
I thought they could third party in the western side, but Navi heard the vehicles on approach, and down they go.
This is actually something we see from aaia, as you're saying. He generally does take that off-angle position. He'll do what he can to support the rest of the team, but he has absolutely stepped up so far in this event.
I'm surprised Genji opted to swing west on this one. I thought they had plenty of space towards the east, but you see Tiggleton, the solo play out there, he must have just been applying enough pressure, harassing enough for them to second guess that option.
So Question Mark will also go down, and now it's really going to be between Navi and it's going to be between Sonics here on the north side.
Kas on halıydı? Biz kan. Aber Sonic kıyıta yaptı. Hadi блядь, нам окна hadi блядь. Ботла. Нави, сколько там на ногах?
Нави трое. Двое.
Просто лол, что ли, был Сониста?
Спокойного.
О, кем сяда в итоге?
Ай, давайте мы так. Блядь, Кимоняна слив. Бля, навелра вардлеров.
Хабас тахта бота. Правильно делаете. Станхава тема хейлова. Ты левый тень фалрок вала. Только троллы будет, бля.
Ага. Ярхан булук хаваларыр.
Ага, ярхан. Ол американ тахкан доны кытыты не отағаны. Барар ол американы. Соник бәгін. Наға оту той кене нәсіп.
There's no reason for D+ to expect there to still be a snake riding around on that southern side. So we'll see when he opts to reveal.
Соникта нахас му құралары, қарлы бұға.
Navi Sonics has got to be where eyes are bound. But with question mark falling, I was just gonna say, I think it made more sense for Na'Vi to try and wrap around the other way.
I also, to be fair, to agree with you, I thought they would have wrapped that way, especially after getting rid of Twisted Minds as well. They had the opportunity to go, but they've actually started to position themselves more towards the Sonics, which again, they have really good position here.
Again, it's a corner. I mean, I know there are no corners in a circle, but it's up at the very, very edge anyway, towards the northwest. If somehow, by a miracle, this one hard swings northwest, everyone is coming into their ball. Everyone is coming down towards their containers. They might as well wait it out. They know there's going to be no movement in this entire server until they know. Well, they are the first ones to go, so might as well stick around.
Yeah, and they also couldn't move as well just because of D plus K, right? They had showed, and question mark hadn't.
Begin all
So like maybe
Dilema.
as you said, just wait for the
Tylko
next shift because they
mają na nie kilku dostać.
Again, the more time they're doing nothing,
Ty
the more
mają
that allows for other people to make mistakes. It's
перед
also
типа.
great at abusing other people's mistakes.
Tego tym
If D plus peaks over, if a Sonics player gets greedy and they're just sat around doing nothing, oh wait, they knocked 2 of them for free. Great, now we can make a play. So no reason to move. In Navi's case, the issue is, well, in 55 seconds, you have to.
The thing I worry about now for Sonics though is the snake of Ixlift as well as D plus Kia, because as you said, whoever starts the fight off, I guarantee you it's either going to be Na'Vi that's going to go for that third party, or Sonics will jump on the opportunity as well.
It's a weird situation where I want them to maintain this split, but they have to. I also really want to see them just swing. The thing is,
Ya ular leo aralar ola. O takan ikisini doğan hayaller oldu. O bravo takan yine hayatın her bitti. Aa tahsin. Onu o kere basit noktada kocaman noktalarına yürüyor olur bu. Sonic'ta maşallah холодно грона сидят. 17-лердегі тахасил тахана отырол. Вона kasi 17 kan var. Behgra oynaydı da.
Resting on their laurels, they were fighting tooth and nail between Twisted Minds, between the day trade emergency pickup, so they have just been constantly dealing with it. But look, this weapon again, the MG3 is so devastating. The variable fire rate, especially up close.
Ah, tokay. Bütün o kimi Iceland'da buldu. Aha, az komanda Avrupa, ehasın komanda Avrupa.
Bu sen tablica. Bir toku hülbede komanda güçlü.
Toğa. Toch bulay. Grupowy byt. Sonis bilin bu hayatta şey biliyorum. Bitse buna nasıl bit. Bu komanda geliyor.
Hadi bu tablica. Hadi.
Atan o, öyle bilin dan da vereme olsa tablica olay. Ben hangi mümkün ettiğin. Sonis'te bile haber bu hayatta her kere bitti diyor.
They can do just enough damage to then back off and kind of bait Sonics to make the third party play early. That's all they have to do. Americano shoots on over.
İşte devamlı bitti ya.
H-Win and Shrimsy peeks forward. They don't need to do much. If they just sit back and wait, it might just be them without.
Ama zipis kayıyor tutuldu. O bu da tasta öyle bu. Krasavчик.
Da,
Дела. Батн оставим бедло. Уходим, ноки добиваем. Ноки добиваем. Аллах же. Да. Вот так вот. One us. Я хорошо. One kill лахтан. One алта. Даны. Oha. 10 kill лахтан. Он бидді. Он бірке бітәкенді де бияды атлады. Бикені. Могу.
Coming out from Na'Vi was disgusting. The amount of fights they got and they were able to win, but also D plus Kia, they were in that for so long.
Да, кажется, команда вария.
And when they did, they were there defending that spot as best as they could. But in the end, Sonics smart play. They tried to breach out of the compound early on, set up mortars as well. Didn't work for them. They backed off. They disengaged. It worked out for them in the end. They got themselves the win. Now let's head over to highlights. And then